resources and health services. The bill proposes the establishment of a primary healthcare advisory council that advises the national government and county government on implementation of primary healthcare services. The bill also establishes the county primary healthcare advisory committees at the county level that is tasked to ensure the effective implementation of primary healthcare through resource mobilization, advocacy, and the planning as well as development of primary healthcare service delivery. The bill is in the National Assembly for concurrence. It has already sailed through the Senate, and the members of Parliament will eventually consider it. And another bill that is set for the first reading, this bill originates from the National Assembly. It is the Legal Aid Amendment Bill. It is National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2023. That bill will be read for the first time. The Prisons Bill, National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2023, has also been lined up for the first reading. Now, the principal object of this bill is to amend the Prisons Act Cap 90 laws of Kenya in order to abolish the death penalty and the manner of its execution. The objectives of this bill are to preserve the fundamental right to life, to put an end to cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and punishment of condemned persons occasioned by the enforcement of the death penalty. Further, it seeks to stop the psychological trauma brought about by the death sentence and to reflect Kenya's international commitment to the abolition of the death penalty through ratification of the second operational protocol to the International Covenant on Civil as well as political rights. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly on this 3rd day of October 2023 is about to begin. On your screen, there is some activity, the Sergeant at Arms followed by the Maze. And also on your screen, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Bose. She is walking into the chamber to oversee the business of the National Assembly this afternoon. It is a very busy afternoon where the members will be considering, among others, motions which will be moved and considered.
Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. hereby direct that the bell be rung for further 10 minutes.
If you're just joining us, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly has ordered the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes because the House does not quorate. The number required for business of the National Assembly to begin is 50 members seated in the chamber. That is according to the provisions of the standing order. And what happens in the background is that respective leadership in the House whips the members to come take their seats, at least those who are within the precincts of Parliament. As we wait for quorum to be achieved, we'll continue taking a look at the order of business this afternoon, where the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2023 will be read for the first time. Quorum has been achieved.
Sergeant at Arms, I direct that you stop the bell, and now we can proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Honorable members, there's a message. Honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 41-4 relating to messages to and from the Senate, I wish to report to the House that on the 2nd of October 2023, I received a message from the Senate regarding passage of 2 bills. Namely, the Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, and the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023. Honorable members, the first message relates to the passage of Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, which was published via Kenya Gazette number 168 of 15 September 2023. The bill seeks to, among other things, provide the public health facility improvement financing and management and administration of improvement financing, and was passed by the Senate with amendments on Wednesday, the 27th of September 2023. Honorable members, the second message relates to the passage of the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023, which was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 169 of 15th September 2023. The bill seeks to, among other things, provide a framework for the delivery and access to the management of primary health care, and was passed by the Senate with amendments on Thursday, 28 September 2023. Honorable members, having passed the 2 bills, the Senate now seeks the concurrence of the National Assembly on each of the bills pursuant to Articles 110, 111, and of the Constitution, and Standing Orders 46.1 and 161 of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable members, Standing Order number 143 of the National Assembly Standing Orders requires the Speaker to cause a bill received from the Senate to be read a first time upon conveyance of its message. In this regard, you will notice that the two bills have been listed for the first reading in today's order paper. Upon being read a first time, the bills will stand committed to the Departmental Committee on Health for consideration in line with Standing Order 143. Honorable members, noting the urgent nature of the bills, the committee is encouraged to expeditiously undertake public participation and to report to the House for onward processing of the bills. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
I don't think there are any papers. Majority Leader, are there any papers? Chair Jailak has a paper.
Jailak had a paper.
Honorable Member for Tharaka Nithi. Okay, maybe I can make, I will recognize some guests within the National Assembly while the chair of JLAC gets himself together. Honorable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation of staff from the parliaments of Zambia and Namibia seated in the Speaker's Gallery. They are from the National Assembly of Zambia, Mr. Tennyson Nyangu, who's the Principal Clerk, Journals and Table Office. 2, Mr. Collins Ngozi, Deputy Principal Clerk, Learning and Development. 3, Mr. Kibwibwi Bubanga, Deputy Principal Clerk, Research. From the National Assembly of Namibia, there is 1, Mr. Vincent Sinalumbu, Deputy Director, Research and Information. 2, Mr. Raphael Hangalgula, Senior Information Officer. Honorable members, the staff from the National Assembly of Zambia are in the country on a visit to the Center of Parliamentary Studies and Training, CPST, to, among other things, learn about the model and the organizational structure of the center. On the other hand, the staff from the Parliament of Namibia are on a study visit to the Department of Public Communication and Media on an exchange learning on an, among other things, legislative communication strategy, social media policy, and outreach programs. Honorable members, on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome them to the National Assembly and wish them fruitful engagement during their stay in Kenya. I thank you. Chairperson Jailak. The Honorable Sir George, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Sorry that this was delayed a little bit, but allow me, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 3rd October 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
I think there are none. Next order. I don't see any notices of motion. The Honorable Ken Chonga, I think member for Kilifi, You are supposed to have a notice of motion. If he's not here, we can proceed. We can always pivot back to him when we come back. The Honorable Chonga? Okay.
Let me just take the seat. Sorry, Your Honor. Proceed. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to seek an adjournment of the House on a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the skyrocketing fuel prices in the country. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provisions Standing Order number 33, subsection 1, I rise to seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the skyrocketing fuel prices in the country. Honorable Speaker, the Energy and Petroleum Regulation Authority, EPRA, in its latest price review, revised the fuel prices for super, petrol, diesel, and kerosene upwards by Kenya shillings 16.96, Kenya shillings 21.32, and Kenya shillings 33.13 respectively, leading to a cost of over Kenya shilling 200 shillings per litre. This surge in fuel price has caused serious apprehension among Kenyans as the prices are the highest in the country's history, taking into consideration the levels of purchasing power of the majority of the people in Kenya. However, Speaker, while it is acknowledged that global demand and supply factors influence the fuel prices, the sharp increase in fuel prices, coupled with the numerous taxes, will take the country's economic growth backwards, as prices of most goods and services are pegged on such rates. Instructively, taxes account to up to 40% of the fuel pricing in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background, therefore, that I seek leave for the adjournment of this House to discuss this matter of urgent national importance with a view to finding sustainable solution to the ever-increasing fuel prices so as to alleviate the burden of Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Chonga, do you have 20 members? Okay, I'm reliably informed that you have 21 members. So the matter shall be debated at 6 p.m. Actually, 6:15. 6:15, yeah. Just so that we finish the other business. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The Honorable Peter Lachokapong, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Regional Development. Are you ready? Okay, proceed. Give him the mic. You may proceed. Please sit down, Honorable Kamket, so that we can get a mic for the Honorable Member. Move to your right, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now, this is a statement requesting for extension of time for consideration of the Regional Development Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023. Now, Honorable Speaker, I rise under Standing Order 127.5 to report the progress on the consideration of the Regional Development Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023 by the Departmental Committee on Regional Development. Now, the bill was read for the first time in this House on 6th of June 2023 and was committed to the Departmental Committee on Regional Development for consideration pursuant to Standing Order 127.3. Now, Honorable Speaker, the bill is very important as it seeks to consolidate all laws relating to regional development to provide for establishment, powers and functions of the six existing regional development bodies. Now, the bill further seeks to standardize the functions of the regional development authorities and the membership of the boards of each authority to 11 members in line with best practices in corporate governance. It also seeks to align all existing RDA acts with the provisions of the 2010 Constitution. Now, Honorable Speaker, now the committee was required to undertake public participation on the bill by inviting submissions on the memoranda, holding public hearings, consulting relevant stakeholders in the relevant sector, and consult experts on technical subjects. Now, Honorable Speaker, I wish to report that in compliance with Article 118B of the Constitution and Standing Order 127.3, now the Clerk of the National Assembly placed an advertisement in the print media on Monday, 12th of June 2023, inviting the public to submit memoranda on the bill. Now, by close of the submission deadline, the committee had received 6 memoranda from the following institutions. 1, now State Department for Asals and Regional Development. Now 2, 6 Regional Development Authorities. 3, Kenya Law Reform Commission. 4, the Council of Governors. 5, National Gender and Equality Commission. Now 6, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Now, in addition, the committee met with key stakeholders to submit views on the bill on 25th and 26th August 2023. Now, Honorable Speaker, while the committee was undertaking public participation on the bill, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee submitted that there was a multi-agency technical team on regional development authorities comprising the 6 regional development authorities: county government, council of governors, executive office of the president, Kenya Law Reform Commission, that recommended, among other things, to align all the RDA acts with the provisions of the 2010 Constitution, which the bill is preparing to address. Now, taking into consideration the submission by IGRTC, the committee resolved to further engage the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee on the content of the report by multi-agency technical team, and also undertake further public hearings on the bill in the counties of Kilifi, Tana River, Kisumu, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Isiolo to collect the views of the public. In view of the foregoing, Honorable Speaker, now the committee requests an extension of 60 days to further engage IGRTC, all the stakeholders involved in the multi-agency technical team, and conduct public hearing on the bill. I wish to restate our commitment to process this bill. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Loko Chapong, I think the reasons you have given are valid, and also the list of important stakeholders that you have not been able to consult with. I think I'm inclined to approve your request for the further 50 days to undertake public participation, and we hope that you will use the opportunity to consult widely. And honorable members, I make that decision pursuant to Standing Order 127 4A, which provides that the Speaker may extend the period for public participation under paragraph 4, where various provisions of the bill proposing to amend more than one statute is in its provisions are referred to separate departmental committees. For that reason, I approve. Thank you. Yes, what's your point order, Madam Donya?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Apologies, Honorable Donya.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to seek your indulgence. On 3rd of May, CS for Education was in this house. We asked him a question about the issuance of sanitary pads to our school-going girls.
So, Honorable Donya, you'd like to make a statement?
Yes.
Okay, proceed with your
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, I'm very grateful. The CS told us that he had directed the Ministry of Gender plus the stakeholders involved so that they finish this issue once and for all. Down the line 5 months, our children have no sanitary pads. I come from Kisii County, Madam Speaker. I've not seen any issuance of sanitary pads to our school-going young girls. I cannot be ashamed, Madam Speaker, to say he didn't give us a correct answer, because I even asked him about our young girls and boys fetching water from the rivers. He told us, oh, at this time we have no pupils still fetching water from the river, but as per yesterday, I received photos of MSA Primary School, boys and girls fetching water from the river. So I want to get an answer as to why the women reps and other female leaders in this house have not received any positive answer towards the sanitary pads issue. Even after Madam Speaker I had spoken to the CS, I had even told him in our vernacular, I spoke in vernacular. I thought he was going to hear, because in English he has not given us any answer. So, Madam Speaker, please, we need to be assisted. Thank you very much.
So, Honorable Donya, I think you can do a written statement of what you've said today and just send it to, is it to the Department for Education, Social Protection, or is it Gender? Which committee? Your suggestion is I'll listen to someone else.
Both is actually, when I asked him the question, he said we will have an engagement with the Ministry of Gender. So he was from Education, and the other ministry was talking about his gender.
Okay, so I think you can be marked to both committees, Education.
Thank you, Madam
and Gender.
Speaker.
Thank you. Next order. What's your point of order, Honorable Jared Okello?
Madam Speaker, firstly, I thank you. And I've got two issues that need your attention, direction and assistance. And the first one relates to international travels by members of this House together with our Secretariat, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the wisdom of our clerk, my good friend Samuel Njoroge, he did take the amounts allocated to international travels and apportioned them along committee lines, Honorable Speaker. At the end of the day, we realized how paltry this money is, thereby making it very difficult for committee members to travel. Madam Speaker, the benefits accruing out of international travels through workshops, benchmarkings, and I'm glad our friends from Zambia are present in this House. And many other things that we learn, Honorable Speaker, cannot be gainsaid. But if a committee comprising of 15 people, and I belong to a committee called Delegated Legislation that has up to 21 members, and another one called Budget that I think has 27 members. But with that paltry money, if you were to send only 3 members, Madam Speaker, to the US, Australia, UK, and any other country, Madam Speaker, only 3 members, the money will be depleted.
Honorable Okello, I think that's a matter that has been a directive and advice from government. I think that advice shall reach the clerk of the National Assembly, and he'll be able to deal with it administratively and communicate to members in their various committees. I think to make us try and debate it here at the House when we do not have that particular circular from government officially and not based on newspaper reports, I think is an exercise in futility. Let us proceed.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. That is not the direction I was taking, but I also said...
No, I know you, Jared. You've already, like I've said, you're alluding to something that is not properly before the House and is an administrative issue that has been sent to accounting officers. So let the accounting officers communicate the details of it to their respective institutions. No, we only have one point of order. You will sit down and then you'll ask for another different point of order. Let us proceed. What was your point of order, Honorable Gasheri?
Honorable Speaker, I thought Honorable Donya raised a general statement, so I was seeking your indulgence on whether members can have a few minutes to kindly ventilate on the issue of sanitary towels. It is a pressing concern for our girls. Thank you.
Okay, I think I can give you a chance to ventilate on it. Just
Thank you.
Then we'll proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when we passed the budget in this House, we put in 940 million for procurement of sanitary towels. Honorable Donya has told this House that she had a discussion with the CS Education, who indicated that we were to have progressive consultations with the CS gender. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that more than 30 county women members to the National Assembly had a sitting with the CS gender, Aisha Jumwa, and we had a discussion on the sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when we were signing the Kenya Kwanza Women's Charter, our government promised that we will give free sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker. In this day and age, sanitary towels are still a pressing concern for majority of girls in Kirinyaga County, Honorable Speaker. In parts of Mwea, parts of Gishugu, parts of Ndia, parts of Kirinyaga Central, and I am certain for many constituents and many members. Honorable Speaker, as women representatives, we have exhausted our personal finances on ensuring that we buy sanitary towels so that girls can go back to schools. Honorable Speaker, I was addressing this parliament last week and I confirmed that we do not have our Nga funds as of yet, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in all the honesty, we must be told by the CS Gender and the CS Education where is the 940 million for sanitary towels. We need that money. We need the sanitary towels as soon as yesterday, Honorable Speaker. Periods are not something that girls can say they want to do away with. It is not an option. They have periods every month, Honorable Speaker. And I want to urge this House to take that issue seriously and take it as a matter of urgency. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Kirinyaga, Honorable Njeri. I only indulged you, even though there isn't a substantive statement before the House at the moment, I only indulged you because I know you had raised this issue. It had been marked to, in regards to GAF, it had been marked to the labor, I think, social protection and labor. And then now we can, I think at that time, I just indulged you for that purpose. But there's nothing substantially before the House. And before we move to the next order, allow me to recognize the presence of Pesi Day Secondary School, Laikipia West, from Laikipia County. And secondly, to recognize the presence of Wood Creek Secondary School from Roysambu constituency, Kiambu County. Both are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. I also wish to recognize, seated in the public gallery, Visa Oswald Primary School from Westlands constituency, Nairobi County. And on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome you to the National Assembly. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Kenya delegation to the 146th Assembly of Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Question to be put.
Honorable Martha Wangari, I saw that you had put a point of order before I proceed to put the question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had only put it to support the issue of the sanitary towels, as the Honorable Njeri has raised, because I think it's overdue. Just the way condoms are free, sex you can choose, but menstruation you cannot choose. Madam Speaker, this issue, the ping pong between the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Education have cost our girls. The reason we are having even defilement cases, the reason we are having GBV, we have girls being lured to these traps by a packet of sanitary towels. I don't think we can actually insist more, Madam Speaker. Let us have a timeline for this statement to come to the floor.
Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to put the question and then we can. The matter is substantive before your committee, Honorable Alice Ngaga. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the 146th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Manama Kingdom of Bahrain from the 11th to the 15th of March 2023, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 14th June 2023. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for public health facility improvement financing, the management and administration of facility improvement financing, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for the delivery of, access to, and management of primary health care and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Legal Aid Act. Order number 12, the Prisons Bill, National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Prisons Act, Cap 90. Order number 13, the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Penal Code.
Leader for majority, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 40, and I think we discussed in the House Business Committee to request you to reorder business appearing as order number 15 to become order number 16, and the business appearing as order number 16 to take the place of order number 15.
Honorable members, following the request by the member for Kikuyu, who's also the majority leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 42, I reorganize the business as follows. That after order number 13, the House will proceed to consider business appearing under order number 16. It will now be numbered number 14. And further, that after the consideration of the business appearing on order number 16, which is now now 14, the House will then proceed to consider business appearing as order number 18, which now will become order number 15 in that sequence. Your point of order, Majority Leader?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I think we got a little mixed up. The request we needed to dispose of with order number 14, then rearrange 15 and 16. 16 now to take the place of 15.
Okay, so you want to start, you want to go for after, so my direction should have been that we reorganize after order number 14.
Yes.
Yeah, we will proceed to consider business appearing under order number 16, which will now be referred to as order number 15.
Yes.
And then further, that after the consideration of the business appearing under order number 16, which will now be 15, the House will proceed to consider the business appearing as under order number 18, which will now become 16.
Perfect.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next order.
Order number 14, motion, consideration of the protocols relating to amendments of Article 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, 1944, Chicago Convention. Resumption of debate.
Yeah. Honorable members, I think there was a balance of time of 2 hours, 27 minutes. I don't know if there was any member who was on their feet. Was there none? The mover. It's open. Okay. Those members who want to contribute to this particular bill, kindly press, to this debate, kindly press the intervention button. Yes, Honorable Member, Honorable GK, Chairperson Transport. It was never moved. I thought it was. It was moved. I think you were absent. Because my notes show that there was that the debate was interrupted on Thursday, September 28th, and there was a balance of 2 hours, 27 minutes. Luckily, Honorable GK, I think the good thing is this is a House of Records. So I've been given a document here in its original state, which shows that on Thursday, the 28th of September 2023, in the afternoon, the Honorable George Kariuki, which is yourself, at 16:49 moved the motion. And thereafter, the Honorable John Kiragu at 16:52 seconded the motion. And the motion was made and the question proposed, and then rising in place of the Standing Order 96, Honorable Owen Bayer claimed to move that the debate be adjourned. So yes, we seem to, so the motion was deferred for continuation today. So am I correct to say that it's we resume debate and we have 2 hours, 27 minutes? Okay, so honorable members, press the intervention button. I think the first person who's done that is the Honorable John Waweru, also known as JK, member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to stand to support the amendments of the articles for this protocol. Madam Speaker, there is a very vibrant aviation industry that is calling. However, East Africa has been lagging behind. And Madam Speaker, my biggest concern, beyond the protocols that we are amending today, is the fact that even as we are moving as East Africa, we've got to reconsider how we are tending to matters of aviation in this country, Madam Speaker. As we speak, we are very keen to look at what is happening in the region. However, when we get home, that is where it looks like that is where we draw the line. Madam Speaker, we have a national carrier that is on its knees. Each and every member here will tell you that Kenya Airways is in the doldrums, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even as we look and support the amendments of these protocols, we've got to know that if we are looking towards a vibrant aviation industry, we will need to also go back home and check the aviation in the home countries, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the matter of Kenya Airways is a critical matter that we might not ignore even as we are discussing this motion, Madam Speaker. There are issues that need to be taken up on the national carrier. Issue number one, Madam Speaker, is why this national carrier is perennially registering losses, Madam Speaker. And this can only point to one issue: management and governance. Madam Speaker, this House shall not continue hiding its head in the sand anymore. The national carrier is facing a governance crisis. If it takes us studying from other well-to-do airlines, Madam Speaker, we will find out that any airline that is doing well anywhere in the globe has two very critical components on its board. The boards of airlines that are doing well, for starters, have pilots sitting in those boards. Secondly, they have engineers sitting in those boards, people who understand aviation. That is not the case for Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. In Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker, we have a way of bringing in bankers, HR people, finance people, and ultimately locking out the professionals who are the pilots and the engineers. Madam Speaker, that we must remedy. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the issue of the people working for this airline, Madam Speaker, even as we are amending the international protocols, back here at home, Kenya Airways, which was once one of the better employers, today is an embarrassment, Madam Speaker. That is why the airline is bleeding talent left, right, and center. Our pilots are taking off, our engineers are taking off, our air hosts and hostesses are running away, Madam Speaker, and all this is pointing to the misgovernance at the highest levels, Madam Speaker. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, we have an airline that has packed a Dreamliner, Madam Speaker. The statistics are telling us that when the Dreamliner is operational, it brings in close to $1 billion US dollars per flight, Madam Speaker. This is monies that would do well in contributing to the forex earnings of this country. We have 247s, Madam Speaker, that are packed in the hangars, Madam Speaker, also pointing to mismanagement. So, Madam Speaker, the point I'm trying to make is that even as we today amend these articles on the protocols, we will still need to come back home and attend to matters of aviation back at home, starting with Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I do stand to support this, and I wanted to put in my voice that even as we do this, let us look at what is happening with the national carrier. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Limuru, Honourable John Kiragu, I think you're a member of the committee. Honourable Kiragu, I'm informed that you have contributed. So let me go to the Honourable Member for Kitutu Masaba, Honourable Clive Gisairo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, but I was not to comment on this.
Please press the intervention button so that I know you want to comment on this. Press the intervention button if you want to contribute to this particular debate. The Honourable Member for Nyando, Honourable Jared Okello. Then you'll be followed by the Honourable Member for Sirisia, Honourable John Waluke.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. taking the cue from my friend Honorable Kierie, it is an absurdity that we have an airline that we should be very proud of as a nation, incurring losses year in, year out, Honorable Speaker. And something needs to be aggressively done, Madam Speaker. All members of parliament here travel in Kenya Airways flights. And at every given time that we fly, the flight is full. And I want to believe they're not carrying us as a charity. It is not out of convenience that members are carried in those flights. They pay for them. And not just members of parliament, everybody else who gets into that flight has paid. And you wonder, where does all this money go? So there's a problem somewhere. Whether it is managerial, we need to get to the bottom of it. Whether it is the interference by certain powers that be, we need to get to the bottom of it. Whether those who have leased those planes to Kenya Airways are demanding more than what they should get as their dues, we all need to know this, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, we have competitive airlines within the region that are going to take away the business away from us. It will be a tragedy for members of parliament and the general populace to be using other airlines to the detriment of our own, Madam Speaker. I think Kenya Airways needs a complete overhaul so that we can inject a new impetus into the business within Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. And I'm very concerned, and I hope that the minister in charge of transport, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, will bite the bullet and call sin by its rightful name and make amends where necessary, so that as a country, our airline can start to be a going concern. And I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity, and I support.
Member for Sirisia, Honorable Waluke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance also to contribute on this. Madam Speaker, we are all proud of Kenya Airways as the pride of Africa. Madam Speaker, since I came to this parliament has given many billions to Kenya Airways, just trying to revive Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, we need to call a spade if we want to save Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, the money is taken by tiniest, and we need to say the truth so that we save this country, Madam Speaker. There are big people who siphon money from Kenya Airways, the way they siphoned Kenya Power. And those are the people who are still siphoning Kenya Airways. And Madam Speaker, note that parliamentarians doesn't know about this. Madam Speaker, this country has a problem of finance. And if we don't say the truth, if we fear being a child or being killed, Madam Speaker, we are not going to save this country, and we are not going to save Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, for example, even the express road, the money is collected every evening and it is taken to a certain family, Madam Speaker. And this is the family that has killed Kenya Airways, this is the family that has killed Kenya Power, and this is the family that is killing this country. Madam Speaker, We cannot be giving out money in, money out, money in, money out. Even today, if we can give out money, after 2-3 days, the money is, Kenya Airways will be crying. The money will not be there. The money will be siphoned within 24/7. So, Madam Speaker, with all those...
Point of order, Honorable Atandi. And Honorable Wanjala, I think.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the motion on the floor is not what the members are discussing. They are discussing Kenya Airways, but the motion on the floor has nothing to do with Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, can you direct members to debate appropriately? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Okay, unless I had wrong, I think they had established relevance, because I think the only aviation industry that they know of that they can make reference as Kenyans is Kenya Airways. So as long as they can link it, which I think I saw Honorable KJ do, then I think we can allow him to proceed. What's your point of order, Honorable Wanjala, before I go back to Honorable Member for Sirisia?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, on the same, I heard the member clearly saying that we have been allocating money in the house to Kenya Airways, but there is a family that siphons this money. I just wanted him to come clear which family is this that is siphoning money. It has to be clear. You cannot leave Parliament in suspense, because Parliament is a house of record and deals with substantive issues.
Honorable Member for Sirisia, you may proceed, but try and be able to, you're responsible for confirming the facts. Oh, the member has left. Okay, it looks like the member has left. Let us proceed. Next, I have the Honorable Member for Endebess, the Honorable Robert Pugose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this consideration of the protocol relating to amendments of Article 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention. In Article number 50A, it increasing the membership from 36 to 40, while Article number 56 is also increasing the membership. Madam Speaker, when you look at the Chicago Convention, basically it has several rights. It talks of issues about the flying over airspace of different countries, the freedom for those flights to fly over there, the freedom that is to land without even disembarking of the passengers in another country, to fly back from a foreign country back to your country, on matters on even disease control from within one country to another. So these are issues, Madam Speaker, that are critical in the air aviation. When the Chicago Convention was adopted, initially had 4 articles, but subsequently it has been increased to 9. So, Madam Speaker, coming to the local, I think when members are contributing about our own pride of Africa, which is the Kenya Airways, it is that feeling that you want our flights, our Kenya Airways, to be a real pride of Africa, whereby it is in both in terms of the profit which they make, so that it's a profit-making organization, considering that most of these flights, when they are flying from our country to another country and the various destinations following this Chicago Protocol, they should be able to look at destinations where it is not a loss-making, but it's a profit-making organization. Then you wonder, when you fly all over, many of these members, when they fly all over the world, you are flying through Kenya Airways. Then you wonder, you are going to this country where the other flights are going. You hear Ethiopian Airlines is making profit. Then how come the Kenyan Airways is not making profit? This convention also talks of about which are the state-owned aircrafts and which are the civil aviations. So I remember in the last parliament there was some amendments towards nationalizing the Kenya Airways. And I think it is a high time we consider, because when you compare with our neighbors, the Ethiopian Airways, it is profit making. It's a national carrier. Kenya Airways is also a national carrier. What is it that is wrong within our carrier that is not able to make profits, that is not able to compete effectively in the various destinations with other flights? So those are issues, Madam Speaker, that I think that the Transport Committee should be able to look critically into it, come up with amendments, come up with laws that we can be able to make the Kenya Airways the pride of Africa as it should be. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
The Honourable Member for Mandera West, Honourable Adan Haji, then you'll be followed by the Honourable Member for Nairobi County, Honourable Esther Passaris. And then the others should press the intervention button. Give the Honourable Member the mic.
Madam Speaker, I was waiting for the next one, not this one. Yeah.
Okay, let me repeat the instruction. Anyone who wants to contribute to this particular motion on consideration of the protocols relating to the amendments of Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention of the International Civil Aviation, 1944 Chicago Convention, please press the intervention button. Honorable Esther Passaris, were you also for another one or this one?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to the consideration of the protocols relating to the amendments of the Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention of International Civil Aviation 1944, known as the Chicago Convention. Madam Speaker, civil aviation is a global concern, and the safety in managing our civil aviation is also of global concern. We cannot be in isolation. I am really happy that they're considering membership of the Council from 36 to 40, and I hope that the continent of Africa will have adequate seats to be able to also voice their opinion on a number of issues relating to the continent. We're very proud as a continent. I mean, we had Kenya Airways as the pride of Africa, and now we've got Ethiopian Airways and Rwanda Air. And Ethiopian Airways has really set a standard that is really high, to the point that, you know, it's becoming a destination for connectivity, just like Dubai and Hong Kong. So we need to look at how, as a country, we can benefit from this protocol and how we can improve our own participation in civil aviation. Civil aviation, when you get into an aeroplane, it's a global representation of citizens from all over the world. So safety is mandatory, but also the issue of price. When you go to Europe and America, budget airlines provide really affordable transportation, and when you look at Kenya Airways, it is really pricey in comparison with the global north and how they price their travels. So we will need to figure out how, as a country, we can not only improve on our civil aviation in terms of price, but also in terms of safety. When a country belongs to protocols and conventions and is a signatory, then we can also raise our standards. Where you have a country where corruption may be rife and we're not focusing on improving our standards, then when we sign up to such convention, it actually is a check and balance for us as a country to make sure we up our standards and improve in terms of our safety, in terms of our training. I have to say that one of the best airlines that offers the best landing is Kenya Airways. You will always have a smooth landing when you come to the runway. Our pilots were one of the best trained, and I still believe that they are the best trained. We've also liberalized and included gender. We've got female pilots as well, which we're very proud of. So I believe that the Transport Committee has actually been wise to bring this for us to consider. And being part of this protocol will mean that our civil aviation, in terms of safety, in terms of pricing, in terms of standards, will go higher. But this is also a challenge for the management of Kenya Airways, which was our pride of Africa, to look at where did they go wrong and how can they improve so that we can actually get back our position as the pride of Africa. Because today, when you look at the airlines, by comparison, I think Ethiopian Airways has really upped the standards. We're proud of that. We saw South African Airlines go down, but we should be thinking of these protocols not just as Kenya, but as the continent of Africa. Because as the continent of Africa, we've got to figure out how we are going to become independent and of the controls of the West. We also have to make sure that these protocols favor the continent of Africa and do not make us become dependent and lose our ground in terms of being monopolized by the Western airlines. So all in all, I support the motion and I congratulate the Transport Committee for bringing this to the floor of the House. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Buri, Honorable Mugambi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this rectification. Madam Speaker, this is not the matter per se of Kenya Airways. It's a matter of Civil Aviation Authority working in conjunction with 198 member countries that is bringing this amendment so that in terms of air transport and management, security, financial responsibilities, crisis management on the matters of air transport, and shared responsibilities. Madam Speaker, Kenya Civil Aviation plays a great part in the management of airspace in this country. There are so many issues that we have to take into account when it comes to the management of the civil activities in our airspace. Therefore, Kenya is being called upon to rectify the membership from 36 to 40, that's Article 50A, and Article 56, which calls for the Air Navigation Commission membership from 19 to 21. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a very important rectification that Kenya becomes a global player in the civil aviation management, that Kenya will benefit from other countries when it comes to the airspace management, because we have shared responsibility like the satellite, which the aircraft use on flight. Madam Speaker, Kenya Airways benefit from these conventions because it's our carrier, our transport carrier for air transport. Madam Speaker, the reason why members are agitated is because Kenya Airways has totally failed as a state, despite for us being members of the Chicago Convention. Kenya Airways has earned all the privileges that they can fly into any member countries, the 198. But because of its limitations caused by poor management, Madam Speaker, it hasn't been able to benefit much from this convention. Therefore, I state and support that this amendment be rectified by this House, and argue Kenya Airways, wherever they are hearing the concern of members, that the declining performance of Kenya Airways is causing a lot of concern to this country, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to be part of these conventions if we are not benefiting as a country. Madam Speaker, I support.
I think I had the Honorable Member for Chebalungu, but it turns out he has pulled out his card. So now I'll go to the Honorable Member for Kitui West, Honorable Edith Nyenze. She's not here. I'm here. Okay.
There
you
are. Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity to speak to this motion on aviation. And I'll go straight to talk about Kenya Airways, where also members have talked about. It's actually this national carrier, that is the KQ, has been mismanaged. Although it's actually written Pride of Africa, but it's not really the Pride of Africa. I wish it would be the Pride of Africa, and as compared to the other aviation carriers, I think it should be amongst the best because it's one of the oldest carriers. But the mismanagement has really been noted because I would call it mismanagement because it's the most expensive aircraft. It's very expensive as compared to the others, and they do not keep time. Every time you hear a flight has been cancelled, yet passengers are paid, passengers have trust in it. So, Madam Speaker, I would say that it's not the Pride of Africa, but we should improve on it because we have the tools. Every time the government keeps on putting more money into this aircraft, but it has not improved. So I would say that if things were put in order, then it would be one of the best aircrafts in the world. So my take is that the management of the aircraft should be looked into so that it remains the Pride of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no other interventions or interest in this matter, I now call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank honorable members for their support and insightful contribution on this Chicago Convention debate. Honorable Speaker, the ratification of the amendments on the increase of membership in the ICAO Council provides an opportunity for Kenya to lobby for Part 2 membership, that is a permanent council member seat, upon entry into force of these amendments. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, membership on the ICAO Council enables a state to actively participate in the global aviation policy formulation and adoption. Further, Honorable Speaker, Kenya stands to gain through access to multiple opportunities, especially deployment of Kenyans for service in ICAO through access to job placements, secondments, and engagement as short-term experts to ICAO. Kenya is a key player in the aviation sector in the region. Notably, Kenya was elected as a Part 3 member of the Council on 4th October 2013 for a 3-year term from 2013 to 2016. Kenya was subsequently re-elected to serve from October 7, 2016 until October 6, 2019 for a second term. Honorable Speaker, the protocols relating to the amendments are consistent with the Constitution and promote constitutional values and objectives. In addition, there are no additional obligations imposed by the protocol relating to the amendments of the convention other than those in the initial convention. Further, the ratification of the amendments to the convention will be incorporated into existing institutional frameworks that the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority has made provision for, and therefore there is no budgetary changes envisaged. Honorable Speaker, there are no implications on the matters relating to counties as is required by our Constitution. Honorable Speaker, just to inform the House, the Chicago Convention was signed on 7th December 1944 by 52 states, and Kenya became a signatory to the convention on 1st May 1964. There are currently 193 contracting states to the convention. The convention objective is to regulate international air transport and establish the International Civil Aviation Organization, what we call ICAO, a specialized agency of the United Nations charged with the administration of the principles laid out in the convention. Honorable Speaker, the 96th article of the Chicago Convention established the privileges and restrictions of all contracting states. And the convention accepts the principle that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over the airspace above its sorry, Honorable Speaker. The convention accepts the principle that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over the airspace above its territory and provides that no scheduled international air service may operate over or into the territory of the contracting states without its previous consent. Honorable Speaker, the agreement is very critical, as once it is ratified, it will bring several benefits to Kenya, which includes the enhanced cooperation and collaboration in the investigation of aircraft accidents and incidents. This will also include the sharing of resources among partner states, utilizing common guidance materials, accidents investigation manuals, and handbooks. The sharing of safety information will contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of aircraft accidents, causes, and preventive strategies. Honorable Speaker, having said that, I beg to reply. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its declaration of the protocols relating to the amendments to Article 50A and Article 56 to the Convention on the International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 17th August 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the protocols relating to the amendments to Article 50A and Article 56 to the Convention on the International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. That you're out of order. I heard you clearly. Next order.
Order number 15, the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022. Second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022 be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, the Statute Miscellaneous Amendments Bill of 2022, Honorable Speaker, is, as the title says, a miscellaneous amendment, and is customary to, as is customary, Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to amend various statutes. And Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting that the majority of the amendments in this particular bill, Bill number 60 of 2022, seeks to harmonize various acts of Parliament with the functions of the office of the DPP under Article 157 of the Constitution, which defines the role of the DPP as the person in charge of undertaking all criminal proceedings, prosecution of all criminal proceedings, while the Attorney General has a role to act as a principal legal advisor of government. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to amend a number of acts, as I said, beginning with the Penal Code. And Honorable Speaker, members will be able to peruse and see that the Penal Code, Cap 63, is being amended by deleting the expressions that are contained in Section 146, which in many ways could be perceived to be discriminatory towards persons with mental disabilities. And you know, Honorable Speaker, it is now policy and indeed a constitutional requirement that we mainstream the involvement of all persons, including persons living with disabilities, up to and including mental disability. Honorable Speaker, that is why we must not have anything within our penal code that seems to be discriminatory against people living with mental disability. And Honorable Speaker, mental disability could be interpreted in different ways, Honorable Speaker. Not just the known ways of those people that we see in mental institutions, but there are many people who are with us, living in society, but have certain mental disabilities, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the Honorable Kangogo, who is whispering behind me that including Parliament, that those shouting might be suffering from one form or the other of a mental disability. And because, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to take that route of Honorable Kangogo, who is whispering that the Honorable Masara, who just shouted when you called the vote on the previous statute, could be in that category. I don't want to get there. It's Honorable Kangogo who is whispering, because we cannot be imputing improper motive on Honorable Masara, even when he opts to use his mouth to express displeasure with the way the vote has gone. As much as I'm sure he does not know what was being voted for, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the other thing is on the Criminal Procedure Code, Honorable Speaker, where Cap 75, where we are seeking to harmonize terms in that particular provisions, to harmonize them with the provisions of the Constitution and the National Police Service Act of 2011. Additionally, it proposes to amend the Act to allow the Director of Public Prosecution to delegate his powers to specified officers to delete offenses provided for in the Sexual Offences Act. Honorable Speaker, the other provision is in the Evidence Act, Cap 80, which seeks to expand the definition of the term photograph. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable KJ who is very good in some of these issues to do with photography, innovation, image rights, and all that, and the digital economy, will tell you that what is in our Evidence Act today is very restrictive in terms of definition of what a photograph is that can be adduced in court as evidence. And therefore, we are seeking to expand this to allow even digital photographs in line with current technological advancements, Honorable Speaker, so that now even a digital photograph can be used in court. But of course, with the necessary safeguards to ensure that those who are very good at photoshopping are not also photoshopping images that can be used in court. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Evidence Act will be amended with these miscellaneous statutes to just expand that definition of what a photograph is, in line with the technological advancements with digitization. Honorable Speaker, the bill also touches on the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003 to allow the EACC, or the Commission, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, to seek for a court order to allow the Commission to order that a state officer who is under investigation or one who is charged with corruption or economic crimes can be barred from accessing their office or exercising powers of that office where the public officer is likely to interfere in investigations in any way. Honorable Speaker, this is particularly important because the most recent example, Honorable Speaker, is that of the matter between the Ministry of Water, the outgoing or the former CEO of Adi Water Services Board. Honorable Speaker, you remember EACC is said to have written a letter to the minister asking the minister to suspend a chief executive officer who EACC was investigating. Honorable Speaker, without casting any aspersions on the minister, it was reported in the media, and I'm just saying this because it was reported in the media. I have not verified the veracity of what we have been watching in the media, that the minister apparently wrote back to EACC asking EACC to disclose the nature of complaint, who the complainant is. Honorable Speaker, from where I sit, I wondered, EACC is an independent constitutional commission that investigates anybody and everybody, including cabinet secretaries. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, there is no cabinet secretary who can pretend to have powers to direct EACC or even to ask EACC to adduce information or to provide information as to what they're investigating and who the complainant is. EACC has powers to investigate anything touching on the integrity of public officers and those who are charged with public office, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, ministers and other senior government officers must never imagine that they can write to EACC and ask them, first, before I act, disclose who the complainant is. EACC does not even need to have a complainant. They should be able to move on their own motion and investigate any matter and investigate anybody and everybody, Honorable Speaker, including the leader of majority and the cabinet secretaries themselves. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, because the president has been very emphatic, and all ministers in government must be seen to be in tandem with what the president is saying on matters touching on corruption. Because the president cannot be saying mambo ni matatu on issues touching on corruption, and ministers in government are speaking a different language. Worst of all, speaking a different language to the constitutional offices, commissions charged with the responsibility of dealing with matters corruption, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I know many a times we are tempted to speak for ministers, especially if they come from our background, Honorable Speaker. And I have said, not more than once, from where I stand in this House, on matters advancing government policy in the House, as leader of majority, I will do all that I can to advance government policy on behalf of even cabinet secretaries. But on matters touching on accountability in government, matters touching on transparency in how you conduct yourself while in office, as a minister, as a state officer, Honorable Speaker, there shall be no compromise. And I shall never stand here to defend any cabinet secretary, any, whether you are from my community, whether you are my brother or my sister. Before the last elections, when we gave you work to work as a cabinet secretary, you must work for the people of Kenya. Don't work for the people from your backyard. Don't work to protect officers because they come from your backyard. Work for services to be delivered to the people of Kenya who have put you in that office. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I needed to say that, Honorable Speaker, because these amendments are speaking to that EACC will now amend the law to allow EACC that if they're investigating any public officer, including a cabinet secretary, leave alone those who are subordinate to cabinet secretaries, EACC should be able to go to court and be able to get orders from a court to bar you from accessing your office, so that you do not interfere with evidence and you do not use your time and space in that office to cover up for your own theft of public resources. Because if we are to realize this mambo ni matatu, to take people to jail over corruption, we must make sure that they are also not able to use their offices to cover up for their own theft, Honorable Speaker. We have spoken at length about state capture. State capture pervades because people are in government. People have the means to steal, then cover up for that theft, Honorable Speaker. It now must be very difficult for state officers to steal from the people and use the same officers to cover themselves up, Honorable Speaker. And I speak that with a lot of passion, Honorable Speaker, because I truly believe in that mantra of mambo ni matatu. Honorable Speaker, there is nothing out of order, Honorable Speaker. I was moving on EACC, Honorable Speaker.
Let's just allow him to ventilate on his point of order before you proceed. What's your point of order, Honorable Okello, provided you stay within relevance? Because you're notorious.
Yes. You must put what standing order is standing on. Otherwise, you will be out of order.
Yes, your standing order.
Okay.
Standing order are you basing your point of order on?
Madam Speaker, I think it's becoming a tired line that lots of lamentations come from this House, the executive, as regards the conduct of cabinet secretaries, Madam Speaker. And my brother, Honorable Ichungwa, has properly captured this matter. Madam Speaker,
Honorable Okello,
this is what I'm saying. Let me come to my point, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Okello, just what's your point of the standing order upon which you are standing to make your point of order?
Madam Speaker, this lamentation has come from none other than the topmost office, their own employer, Honorable William RUTO. When he said
Honorable
that he
Okello,
knows
I just
more...
asked you to follow the standing orders. Raise your, just state the point of, the standing order upon which you're raising your point of order.
Okay.
Don't start straight to debate or to respond directly to Honorable Ishungwa. You're not responding to Honorable Ishungwa, you speak through the speaker.
Yes.
So just rise legitimately.
Yes.
Quote your the standing order.
Check standing order number 40. Madam Speaker.
Which
point of order, Honorable Speaker.
It has
Honorable Speaker, point of order.
The lamentations have come from none other than President William Samoei Ruto. But again, he went ahead, he also...
Honorable Okello, I will read standing order number 40, which talks about sequence of proceedings. Standing order number 40 says, each day after the prayers have been said and the House has been called to order, the business of the House shall be proceeded with the following sequence. A, administration of oath. B, communication from the chair. C, messages. D, petitions. E, papers. F, notices of motion. G, questions and statements. H, motions and bills. Okay, I think we'll just proceed. Honorable Majority Leader, you can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, the Honorable Jared Okello is fond of such interruptions, and I must commend you, Madam Speaker, because this is the way you should conduct business in the House. That when a member seeks to stand on a standing order, they must be able to say on what standing order. But I believe Honorable Jared Okello was here earlier when I used standing order number 42 to reorder business, and he was simply trying to copy me. But I would encourage you to copy me on constituency matters. Honorable Speaker, I was saying in terms of matters touching on EACC, the bill further seeks to amend the Leadership and Integrity Acts of 2012, Bill number 19 of 2012, to allow the EACC again to verify the suitability of candidates intending to apply to be appointed to a public entity and to make recommendation to the recruiting entity on the integrity and suitability of the candidates. Honorable Speaker, you know all that has happened even as we vet cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries and other state officers. The institutions that are recruiting or vetting will ordinarily write to EACC and they write back to you, telling you whether this person has any matters pending before EACC. But now, with this particular amendment, we are seeking to give EACC the powers to be able to make a recommendation on the suitability of candidates to be able to take up appointment in public offices, Honorable Speaker, so that if EACC, for instance, is not investigating you, but they have information that points to your not being suitable or non-suitability to hold public office. And case example, Honorable Speaker, is probably governors who have been charged, who have been impeached, and maybe never ended up being charged. And in the view of EACC with credible evidence, those are people who should not be able to hold public office. Then if they are applying for a job as a principal secretary or something, or any other public office, EACC should be able to look at your suitability, verify, and be able to make recommendation as to whether you are suitable to hold public office. It additionally proposes to allow the High Court on application by any person to declare the assumption of office by a state officer to be invalid for want of executing a commitment to the specific leadership and integrity code. Therefore, even if you have been appointed to public office and you are required to execute a specific commitment on the leadership and integrity code, and you have failed to do so, then any person can petition the High Court to have you be removed from office, or your assumption of office as a state officer be declared invalid. Honorable Speaker, the other matter touched on by this bill touches on the Merchant and Shipping Act of 2009, deleting Section 16, which restricts ship owners from providing several services in the maritime industry, including crewing agencies, pilotage, clearing and forwarding agencies, and port facility operator, among others. Honorable Speaker, you remember this follows the declaration of the section as an unconstitutional provision in the Shipping Act by the High Court in September of 2020, and this therefore allows the revival of the Kenya National Shipping Line. Therefore, that particular amendment is to align with the High Court declaration of that particular Section 16 as unconstitutional, because it barred ship owners from providing several services, and the courts did find that that particular provision was unconstitutional. Honorable Speaker, the other act is on the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act of 2010, and the bill seeks to enhance the penalty for organized crimes and to extend the period in which an order obtained in relation to tracing of property shall lapse. It also seeks to apply the term Inspector General in place of as the authorized officer in place of the term that is in the Act of Commission of Police, in line with the terminology that is now used under the current Constitution. And Honorable Speaker, members will appreciate the prevalence and danger exposed to our country on issues to do with organized crime. Not just organized crime in small scale, in our backyards, in our constituencies, where gangs are coming together and stealing from people, but also organized crimes of larger scale nature, touching on crimes, economic crimes. And therefore, the period that was provided for under the Act, Honorable Speaker, was not adequate, and we seek now to extend this period so that if the police have an order that they have obtained for tracing of property from organized crime, including those who are looting from public office, then they will have a longer time to be able to trace such property. Honorable Speaker, the other act being touched on is the Judicature Act, Cap 8 of our laws. And in this particular amendment, Honorable Speaker, we are seeking to increase the number of judges who are serving as Court of Appeal judges from the current 30 to 70 judges. Honorable Speaker, members are aware, because the judiciary has been very keen in taking services closer to the people, that as much as we have been able to devolve the High Court from Nairobi to many of our counties, and the judiciary has worked very hard to ensure that we have courts at least at every county headquarter, and some that are still under construction, and others where judges actually hold stations for the High Court. But the same has not been possible with the Court of Appeal because of the limited number of judges in the Court of Appeal, and this was limited by the number stipulated in the Judicature Act, Cap 8. Therefore, we want to increase that number to 70. Members, you remember, I think in the last elections, there is a matter that went to the Court of Appeal and the Court of Appeal had to sit at night to be able to deal with that matter a few days, actually I think the day before, just before elections. And if the Court of Appeal had adequate judges, then they'll be able to deal with matters where appellate matters coming from the High Court and other courts in time. Therefore, that particular amendment will just be seeking to increase the number of judges in the Court of Appeal. On the Kenya Roads Board Act, Honorable Speaker, and the Chair, Honorable GK, Chair of Transport and Infrastructure, will bear me witness that the Kenya Roads Board has had a current membership of 13 members. It's actually among us the largest boards in the country, and they want to now align with the Mwongozo policy to be able to have 9 members instead of the current 13 members. Honorable Speaker, the last one is on the Bribery Act of 2016. And here we seek to include both private and public entities in the scope of the application of the Bribery Act. Because, Honorable Speaker, members will agree with me, and indeed Kenyans, that matters dealing with bribery or corruption are not just matters that touch on public offices and public officers. That indeed the key drivers of corruption, even in public entities, are private entities that are seeking opportunities of doing business with government. Honorable Speaker, the laws, as they were, target only public entities and had excluded private entities. And now we want to bring to the purview of the Bribery Act the private entities, so that we indeed make the fight against corruption possible and easy for the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and other investigative agencies to be able to deal lawfully with people who are engaging in bribery, whether you're in the private sector or in the public sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, the bill, as had been published, Honorable Speaker, had various other amendments, but you do recall last week in the communication made by the Speaker, we did drop a number of those provisions that we shall therefore not be considering in this bill. And those are just some of the matters in line with the Speaker's communication last week. And those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Kangogo Bowen to second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to second the miscellaneous amendment bill by the leader of majority. And Madam Speaker, the amendments raised by leader of majority, Madam Speaker, especially the issues dealing with the corruptions, Madam Speaker, the issue dealing with the judiciary, Madam Speaker, are very important issues. Madam Speaker, if I can just pick 2 areas, especially touching on the corruption. Madam Speaker, if you had some of the few members when they were talking about the issue which was raised by the chair of roads, and they picked it at Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, we have a serious issues of corruption across many sectors in the country. And Madam Speaker, apart from this small miscellaneous amendment bill, there is a serious confusion also between EACC, the DCI, Madam Speaker. You will find that the DCI, they have even left their work of investigating non-economical crimes, Madam Speaker, to focus so much on economic crimes. Because even themselves, they want to get or to put a hand in what they are investigating. So, Madam Speaker, giving these powers to EACC, Madam Speaker, it will help to make sure that the EACC, they have that powers, they are able to investigate all of us and any other Kenyan, so that you don't find officers who are being investigated and they are themselves in the office. It becomes so difficult for them because they interfere with the witnesses. Madam Speaker, on the issue of judiciary. Madam Speaker, some areas, like even where I come from, Elgeyo-Marakwet County, we have only the smallest, the magistrate court.
What's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm starting a point of order number 91. My brother is admitting there is confusion between DCIO, ESCC, and I want him to clarify what confusion is there with the facts. Thank you.
You're the one confused with the honorable member, because I said there is confusion in terms of investigation and prosecution of economic crimes and even economic crimes between the DCI and the EACC. And I've said it very clearly that given if we can have the EACC investigate economic crimes and we have the DCI investigate and prosecute forward for prosecution non-economic crimes, it will create clear lines. And
I think it's okay, honorable member, he's just alluding to the overlap of mandate and the need for clarity of mandate, hence that's the nuisance or mischief that you're trying to cure through the amendment.
Exactly.
So he's not alluding to any unsubstantiated facts. You may proceed, honorable.
Thank you, honorable Speaker. And I've said, Madam Speaker, if you check, for instance, tax crimes, tax evasion crimes, you will find that that is an economic crime which we need to give more powers to EACC together with also the KRA so that they can follow and have DCI to focus on cat rustling and some other crimes like banditry and robbery. Madam Speaker, on the case of judiciary, you will find that there are many cases, Madam Speaker, in judiciary which are dragged for many years. We have people in this country who have died, Madam Speaker, following cases in judiciary for so many years. So I support that we increase the appellate charges to 70 or even more, Madam Speaker, so that if possible, every county there is an appellate court, so that cases can be fast-tracked, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, apart from even that one, we would want to see that every constituency, if possible, Madam Speaker, to have a magistrate's court. You will find that, like I was saying, Madam Speaker, from Elgeyo-Marakwet County, we have only a magistrate's court at the county headquarters. The entire 4 constituencies, there is no a court, Madam Speaker. So I want to support this amendment by little majority, Madam Speaker, so that the operations and development of government agendas, Madam Speaker, can move, and also to make sure that there is a transparency and accountability also in government. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to support.
Honorable members, allow me to propose the question. Then we can move to debate. Honorable members, I propose the question that the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022, be read a second time. Will as many as, sorry, not yet, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, we can proceed with the debate. Those members who want to contribute to this debate, press the intervention button. Okay, you can walk right up here and speak to the clerk. Okay, do you have a point of order? Okay, it's okay, let him proceed. Yeah, but next time it's just, yeah, all right, proceed. Please remove your cards if you're not going to contribute to this debate. Just press the intervention button so I can differentiate the other members who've made general requests. Proceed, Honorable Atandi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this important bill. Madam Speaker, I want to zero in on the amendments touching on the EACC Act. And Madam Speaker, all of us are interested in fighting corruption. I think if there's anything that anybody in this country needs to fight is corruption. Because it is corruption that has allowed this country to stagnate. Many of our peers across Africa are doing better and across the world because they have been able to slay the dragon of corruption. Madam Speaker, in the amendment which has been proposed, the amendment is seeking to strengthen the investigative arm in the war against corruption. And Madam Speaker, what I think we need to do as a country is, first of all, to professionalize investigations. Because what there is in this country on investigation is not professional investigation. Because giving the EACC power to investigate anybody is, in short, politicizing investigations. And this is the reason why we have failed, Madam Speaker. If you look at the way corruption is prosecuted, it begins with investigations and then it goes into prosecutions. If you look at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, that office is very professional, and that office consists of competent advocates and lawyers who look at cases before they present before court. And Madam Speaker, because you are here in the last parliament, you are aware that there was a time there was the director, the DCI, and the DPP were not in agreement on many aspects, on many cases of corruption. The reason was that DPP felt that some of the cases that were being given to him to prosecute were not properly investigated, and that most of them were product of politics. That the system would send somebody to investigate you, and there would be a press conference, and you would think things would be said how corrupt you are. But when the matter is presented before DPP, actually there is no evidence that can support that case in court. So, Madam Speaker, my view is that if we really want to fight corruption, then we must begin by strengthening the investigative aspect of the war against corruption. And I wanted the majority leader to listen to me because this is his bill. As long as the EACC officers, the ones we know, who are not very good in undertaking professional investigations, then even if you give them powers to investigate me at night, in the morning, without going to court, they will never succeed in arresting corruption because they will still do shoddy investigations. And when these matters are presented before the DPP will say, no, this one cannot hold. And there's no judge who will give you a good judgment. So, Madam Speaker, whereas this proposal to give free power for free investigation is here, I want to oppose it because I think where we need to start as Parliament is to find a way in which you can have an EACC which can do a professional investigation that can lead to prosecution. I think that's where we need to start. Madam Speaker, that was my observation, and I wanted to urge the government side to think of how they can have a professional EACC, a professional DCI, because even the DCI, Madam Speaker, these people will never conduct professional investigations. What they will do is that as long as you are a target of government, the government will send all of us, will send these people to all of us, to all our officers, and they will be announcing how they are investigating me, they are investigating so and so. And in the end, that will be the end of the story, because they will never find anything substantial to take to court. So I want to urge the government to consider aspects of investigation that can be professional and that can lead to successful prosecution and successful fight for corruption. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Before I give the next speaker, allow me to recognize students from Dr. Wachira Secondary School, Laikipia West constituency, Laikipia County. The member is not in the house, would have confirmed whether this school is named after him. But allow me to, on your behalf and the house, to welcome the students to observe the proceedings of this house. Order, members. The school is called Dr. Wachira Secondary School, Laikipia West constituency and Laikipia County. So I thought the coincidence is quite something. Honorable Bowen, I will indulge you for a minute. Maybe you have the brief from the Member of Parliament.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to welcome the secondary school of Dr. Wachira Karani in Laikipia. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Member of Parliament, I want to welcome them to this house. Madam Speaker, I went together with Dr. Wachira for an arambe, together with the current president when he was the deputy president, to Laikipia to fundraise for this school. And want to welcome them to Parliament and together with also other learners who are in Parliament.
Thank you, Honorable Kangogo. The next speaker will be the member for Sotik. Are you in the house? If not, the Honorable George Gitonga Murugara, member for Tharaka.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, which we are debating this afternoon. It's important to begin by saying that a Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill seeks to amend various statutes in an omnibus act of Parliament, such as this one. We have been accused previously that we actually sometimes sneak in amendments which are not supposed to come into a Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill. But I wish to confirm that as far as this one is concerned, the various acts proposed to be amended actually deserve the amendments, and what we are introducing in most of these amendments are minute housekeeping amendments which do not go into the core and substance of that particular individual act. By so doing thus, we are able to amend many acts without having to bring to the House many bills touching on each act, which is actually supposed to be the long process required by our laws. Madam Speaker, we have proposed to amend several acts. And let me begin with the Judicature Act, which is the first one on the Memorandum of Objects to the Act. The proposal we have, and the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which was actually the lead committee as far as this bill was concerned, and did consider some of these amendments, including the Judicature Act. It is proposed that the number of the Court of Appeal judges be increased from 30 to 70. We will be debating this, especially during the third reading of the bill, when it comes to whether we should be moving from 30 to 70 and whether the number is actually not too high. However, there is room for an increase to a number in between 30 and 70, and therefore the report of the committee is clear on the proposal we have made here that we should actually be settling at 45. We believe that is reasonable, and then we will be urging the House to support. There are other proposed amendments, and including the Appellate Jurisdiction Act. Again, here we have to ensure that our laws are aligned to the Constitution, because some of these laws we have today are so old. They were actually passed during the colonial period, when the structure of government was totally different, and especially so different from the structure of government we got in 2010, when the new constitution was promulgated. Therefore, you would find in some areas, especially on prosecution, that's why you hear the Penal Code, the Criminal Procedure Code being amended, because the government prosecutor was the Honorable Attorney General, and he had a department in which there were public prosecutions. Today, prosecutions in the country are done by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Therefore, it is necessary to amend some of these laws to align them with the constitutional provisions that we have in the new Constitution of 2010. And we go down, including the Vexatious Proceedings Act. Some of these laws may sound very new to everybody, because what are vexatious proceedings? Severally, you have heard many people saying one of our members in the Senate is a vexatious litigant. You do not become a vexatious litigant until you are declared so by the court. And this is the reason why many people go to court, some of them fully vexatious. They really go there to vex people, annoy them, and ensure that even the government is not happy with them. But we have to get you declared a vexatious litigant, and the applicant used to be the Honorable Attorney General for you to be declared a vexatious litigant. So we have to amend this to ensure that now it is not the Honorable Attorney General, it is the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. An allusion has been made to the Bribery Act. And again, these are some of the acts which even their own title itself makes you wonder what sort of a law this is. What is the Bribery Act? What is the Witchcraft Act? In essence, an act of parliament is supposed to tell you the positive thing it is doing. And therefore, when you have the Bribery Act, you may think it is that act which allows Kenyans to conduct themselves in a manner likely to bribe. It is not so. And what we are doing in these amendments is now to state the fact that it should be an anti-bribery act and not the Bribery Act. And even the Witchcraft, I would say it should be the Anti-Witchcraft Act, not the Witchcraft Act, because many people may think under the Witchcraft Act we are allowed to become witches and wizards and sorcerers and all those things associated. So it's supposed to be anti-witchcraft. And all the way down, and this is what this law is doing, I must confirm that there was extensive public participation, because courts come in to say we do not conduct public participation in miscellaneous amendments. There was extensive public participation here. The report produced by all the committees that considered these acts will show that people appeared before the committees, they aired their views, and those views have been taken into consideration. Therefore, at the third reading of this bill, we will actually be stating what amendments are required so that we make whatever short amendments, short proposals we have made better than they are. So with those remarks, I beg to support.
Thank you. Member for Mwingi Central, Honorable Gideon Mulungi.
Thank you, Madam
Mulungi.
Yeah, Gideon Mulungi. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise to support the miscellaneous statutes amendment law. And I would like to start with the matter on KRB. Madam Speaker, considering that the board members are 13, those are too many, and the number of the board members is just there to squander public finances, and therefore reducing the number to 9 in tandem with the Mwongozo and other boards is laudable. Madam Speaker, on the matter of EACC, Madam Speaker, vetting of public servants before appointment, that has been ongoing. Every public entity writes to EACC, and EACC writes back to confirm that there are no pending corruption cases against those officers. But now what I'm hearing is that we are amending that so that EACC will be mandated to vet the officers and make recommendations. Madam Speaker, in my view, I think that is a mandate that can be misused by interested parties at EACC. It can also be misused by politicians. It can be politicized. If Chungwa doesn't want Mulungi to come to Parliament, and with all his powers, he can talk to EACC, and EACC EACC will disqualify me.
Honorable Mulungi, I don't know why you're inviting trouble, but what is out of order?
Ichungwa is my friend. I'm actually supporting. But
your seat, Honorable Mulungi.
Honorable Speaker, you know, Honorable Mulungi is my friend, so I don't take offense when he uses me as an example. But to say that I have immense powers to direct EACC, well, he knows I was just avowing here that EACC is an independent constitutional commission that doesn't work under the directions of anybody. And indeed, Honorable Mulungi, maybe also for information, the amendment does not seek to give EACC powers to vet. It is for EACC to be able to check the suitability of a person who is seeking appointment into a public office. That does not in any way take away powers given to Parliament in terms of vetting of public officers.
Thank
because
you.
Parliament actually does right.
Don't be tempted to debate or to reply. You can do that during replying time. Honorable Mulungi, I'm sure you meant it in jest. Continue.
Madam Speaker, I'm guided. Madam Speaker, on the matter of public and private entities being investigated and charged, I think in every corruption case there is a giver and a taker, and therefore, Madam Speaker, I agree that we should amend the law so that the giver and the taker are both prosecuted, and I support that 100%. Madam Speaker, I also want to implore on the architects of these amendments, JLAC, on the matter of EACC officers. We have come across EACC officers who are also corrupt. As much as EACC officers investigate public officers and private entities, who also investigates EACC officers who are corrupt. So you need to look at that and see what needs to be done, so that even the EACC officers conduct themselves with high level of integrity. On the matter of appeal judges, Madam Speaker, increasing from 30 to 70 and then 45, I'm not sure what scientific formula has been used to arrive at those figures. I would be more comfortable if the committee would have looked at the pending cases, the backlog of cases in court, so that you are telling us we are increasing this number to clear the pending cases within a certain period of time, instead of coming with an arbitrary finger, which is going to eat into the national cake of public finances. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Dagoretti South, Honorable John Waweru.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate this opportunity. And Madam Speaker, it's not very often that Parliament gets the opportunity to work on an omnibus bill. And this happens to be one of those, a miscellaneous bill that comes loaded with quite a number of amendments that are sought to be amended, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, being an omnibus bill, I will only concern myself to a few of them. Madam Speaker, on the onset, I want to say that I support, and if I have any amendments, I shall be presenting them at the Committee of the Whole House, but generally, I do support. Madam Speaker, one of the reasons why I am supporting this omnibus bill is because it seeks to delete the expressions that are contained in Section 146 of the Penal Code, which is Cap 63, and remove some of these provisions that seem discriminatory to people who have mental conditions. Madam Speaker, when we talk about the issue of mental health, most of us, what rings in our heads is the whole Mathare hospital situation. But Madam Speaker, I'd like to put it very clearly that there are so many people who are walking around this town who actually are living with a mental condition. Madam Speaker, this city is replete with people who are managing their mental condition situations. Some may be extreme, while others might be mild. Even in this house, Madam Speaker, I'm not embarrassed to say that we do have members who are actually living a life where they are managing situations like bipolar, Madam Speaker, which is a mental situation. There are people who are trying to manage the different levels of schizophrenia and so on, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, even depression itself is a mental condition. And the Constitution, Madam Speaker, is very clear about discrimination, that no human being, no citizen should be discriminated on account of very many things, up to and including their mental condition. So because of this, Madam Speaker, I do support. Madam Speaker, there is an effort in this omnibus bill to amend the Evidence Act, Cap 80. And this is seeking to expand the definition of the term photograph. Madam Speaker, we are living in the digital age. In fact, we are post-digital age. We are now in the 4th industrial revolution, where we are talking about the whole movement towards artificial intelligence, the robotics, the Internet of Things, and all these are the things that accrue from the 4th industrial revolution. And Madam Speaker, our courts cannot be restrained as they are now when they are seeking to admit evidence in the situation of defining a photograph. Madam Speaker, in a petition matter that I had brought to the courts, probably 15 years ago, 2007, Madam Speaker, I was at pains to get the court to understand that the evidence that I had carried in a compact disc should be admissible, Madam Speaker. And it was evidence that would have changed the course of that matter before the judge. It was evidence that would have proved my case, Madam Speaker, that I actually had won an election and I had captured this very amazing incident that happened at the polling center, caught on tape, produced in court on a DVD, but the courts could not admit it because they are limited in the definition of the evidence that they can admit. So today, Madam Speaker, where we have each and every Kenyan being a potential citizen journalist, one who can capture evidence anywhere on the go, we must redefine some of these terms so that we are up to speed with the technological advances. Madam Speaker, the mover, the leader of majority, was very clear about what we will need to do now to fortify this amendment so that this definition does not fall prey to people who manipulate photos, Madam Speaker. But the assurance here is that the good thing about the digital technology, there is always a digital footprint. If you manipulate a photograph, it does not matter how good you are at Photoshop, there will be a digital footprint embedded in that manipulated image that will prove that it is either an organic real image or it is a manipulated image using any of the softwares available. So, Madam Speaker, I do support the amendment of the Evidence Act, Cap 80, to be able to define the photograph better. Madam Speaker, the Judicta Act is seeking to increase, the amendment on this act is seeking to increase the number of appeal judges. Madam Speaker, you know the problems in your constituency. The clamor for justice, Kenya being as litigious as it is, there are so many cases that are stuck in our courts. And they're not just stuck in our courts because maybe of inefficiency or human error. They're stuck because of the overwhelming amount of cases that have been filed in courts, Madam Speaker. So any effort that seeks to increase the administration of justice to as many people as possible should be supported, Madam Speaker. And it is true, we have been able to take our High Court to as many corners of the country as is possible. That should also be the case for the Court of Appeal. So, Madam Speaker, on the count of increasing the judges in the Court of Appeal to be able to offer as much justice to as many people as possible speaks to the principle of utility, Madam Speaker. The principle of utility talks to us as representatives to be able to bring as much good as possible to as many people as possible. And that is why we have banners, even in this chamber, titling that we are here for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. So, Madam Speaker, I do support the move to amend this Judicta Act to be able to increase the number of judges in the Court of Appeal. In all, Madam Speaker, I'm in support, and for the few changes that I will make on a few of the proposals, I shall be doing that in the third reading at the Committee of the Whole House. Yes.
Do you want to be informed by Honorable Tom Anthony Oluoch?
This is a great mind, Madam Speaker, and I would want to benefit from the information from my former leader at Kenyatta University.
Honorable Tom Oluoch.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable KJ, and my very good friend from my alma mater then. I just wanted to inform him, and in utmost good faith, because I can see Honorable Rugara already smiling on what I want to inform him about. The act is called the Judicature Act. I know understandably, because he's not a lawyer, he called it the he's called it what? Judicta. He called it Judicta, and obviously because these are legal terms, it's called the Judicature Act. Thank you. But very good contribution.
Good. Thank you. I think, Honorable KJ, you're well guided.
Madam Speaker, you can see the reason why I would accept information from the Honorable Wakili Tom Oluoch. Madam Speaker, they say that English originated from the part of the world where the Honorable Tom comes from, and it is not lost on me that even some English words do sound like the Luo. If you gave an opportunity to the Honorable Oluoch, he would tell you that technology actually means exactly the same in English as it does in the Luo. It means it is very hard. Madam Speaker, I do appreciate the information that I did get. And Madam Speaker, I did say that if I have any changes to make to this, I shall be making that in the third reading in the Committee of the Whole House. But in all, Madam Speaker, I did stand to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm one of the people who have always been very uncomfortable with the miscellaneous statutes law miscellaneous amendment bill, because that's where the devil finds his way. That's where they hide many of the things, Honorable Speaker. But for once, this seems to be a routine. This mostly with routine issues of changing from Attorney General to Director, is it a public prosecution, which indeed is in order as it complies with the provisions of Article 157(2) of the Constitution of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, but there are a few issues that requires probably people's attention, because then we need to highlight them. Number one is the Judicature Act. Honorable Speaker, 70 for a Court of Appeal is just too much. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, I have always believed that many of the issues that end up in Court of Appeal could have actually been sorted out at the very lower level. And this brings into question the level of corruption, the level of unprofessionalism in the lower courts. Second, Honorable Speaker, we do have alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And I would want to encourage my friend Sir George. In the last parliament, he was a very good man, but nowadays, power has gotten into his head. He does not listen to common wananchi. Basically, Honorable Speaker, if we could find a way to entrench ADR, would solve quite a number of these issues.
Member for Tharaka, what is out of order?
Madam Speaker, I really don't understand what the Honorable Member for Funyula means when he says in the last time I was a very good man, and indeed I was. I'm still a good man. In fact, there isn't any power I have gotten from every quarter. So I think it's that he's taken a very hardline stance, especially against my government. That's why he fused it that way. But I repeat to him, I'm still a good man, and may he get informed that he should also continue to be the way he used to be that time. I know we possibly had some common denominator those days. It should still be there because we are serving one government. We are all good people. So I'm still a good man.
Honorable Speaker, I don't know why the MP for Tharaka has gotten involved. I mentioned Sir George. And according to the records in Parliament, there is no MP called Sir George. So allow me not to respond.
Honorable Undo, unfortunately, you know, last Parliament you served with myself and Honorable Murugara. So we know the implied meaning, but please avoid casting aspersions on your colleagues.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker, understood. Honorable Speaker, we could actually relook at this issue in terms, as my colleagues have said. The problem might not lie in the Court of Appeal. The problem lies in sorting out, professionalizing the process from the word go, investigation, application of the law, professionalism, and fidelity to the rule of law. Avoid, so that we do not need to have 70 Court of Appeal judges. We could as well probably even cap the number to the number of counties, so that we are assuming that each Court of Appeal deals with one place. Honorable Speaker, allow me to make a comment. It's good the act has come, this bill has come on the penal code. I totally agree. The words used under Section 146 of the penal code are offensive, discriminatory, and shockingly, it's shocking. Because all my life, Honorable Speaker, I've never come across a person who can refer to as an idiot. I've never come across somebody who I can refer to as an imbecile. And I speak so by virtue that I have been a teacher. By then we were called UT. I was a teacher for a few months. And before I came here, I taught at the University of Nairobi. And I've never come across a person called an idiot or an imbecile. People have got different level of understanding of issues, of comprehending of issues. We need to basically delete it. But Honorable Speaker, it also brings another issue at hand here. What does it mean that a person with mental disability cannot really cannot consent? Because here the reference is any contact that happens that cannot amount to rape, if it is with a person with a disability, mental disability, that will amount to an offense, which again, it causes even more problems than the existing definition. I think that's why I would request the chair of JLAC to really have a serious look at it, that you are criminalizing concession, sexual interaction between a person you are calling a person of normal ability and a person living with mental disability. We need to relook at it so that we get a clear view. Honorable Speaker, let me also just comment on Public Holidays Act. Again, it is unfair. And I argued here last time, it's unfair to change the name of the holiday of 10th October. It's extremely unfair. Politics should not cloud the historical aspect. Those of us who drank maziwa Nyayo have very fond memories of Nyayo, Moi Day. Very fond memories. We might have had issues, but those of us who drank Moi's milk, we will have very fond memories. We should never erase Moi from our history. Those of us who used to line up and sing patriotic songs, those of us who would pledge loyalty, some of you who are young cannot even understand. That's why we are rushing to distort history, but history will remain with us in our life forever to come, because that was an important matter. Honorable Speaker, the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act number 3 of 2003, Honorable Speaker, yes, we have made so many laws in an attempt to fight corruption. We have made so much noise. We have platitudes. We have house-sounding press conferences. We are unable to slay the dragon of corruption. Even these enhanced powers to lock somebody out of the office while investigations are ongoing, while prosecution is ongoing, will all end up to naught. Where we lie, and again, I hope the new chair of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Reverend Dr. Oginde, wherever he is, he needs to get to the core on public education, public sensitization, and really also come to Parliament here so that we deal with the budgeted corruption. That's where we lie. Because all this, again, it is going to be vindictive, because again, we are vitiating the basic principle that one is innocent until proven guilty. Here, by the way, if it's approved, we is in a way condemning somebody unheard that is already corrupt and is bound to be charged. Honorable Speaker, again on the issue of Leadership and Integrity Act. The vetting we normally do here, Honorable Speaker, is just a charade. It's just face saving. It's basically window dressing. In all the years I've been here, out of probably the number of cases we have vetted properly and actually failed to approve is probably 1%. It was 1%. In any case, at times when we even fail to approve, they still post, like the case of the lady who was posted to the embassy of South Korea. This parliament said no, but she went to serve the entire term. Giving again the powers to the Anti-Corruption Commission to pass judgment that we suspect you are about to commit an economic crime or you have committed an economic crime, and on that basis, just check, because to verify the suitability of candidates. Suitability is a composite matter. If somebody has said here, my friend, my colleague Mulunga has said, if there is any reference to any suspicion, indeed, Honorable Speaker, let that matter lie.
Your time is up. Member for Githunguri, Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am really glad and humbled to get an opportunity to debate around the statute law miscellaneous bill amendments, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022. Madam Speaker, indeed, I'm very excited that we have found it worth to relook at various statutes that govern this country. And I'm going to focus myself more on matters Cooperative Society Act of 1997. Madam Speaker, I happen to represent a county and a constituency that is made up of many cooperative societies, starting with the milk Githunguri Dairies, which is a milk-based cooperative society. Of course, I'm sure, Madam Speaker, the House honors Githunguri for our brilliance in management of dairy cows and exemplary performing in management of dairy society. That notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, allow me to concentrate myself on coffee matters, a section that I'm very passionate on because I am a child that comes from a home that draws a lot of activities around the coffee as a cash crop. Madam Speaker, we have had many issues around cooperative societies related to coffee farming in Kenya, and more specifically in the central region of Kenya, where coffee is petty cash, prime cash crop. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, Githunguri, we have had very serious allegations of mismanagement of cooperative societies, because the regulations that govern the elections of officials who manage the cooperative society, the people we call the management committees, the regulations and the rules that govern their operations, the periods and term limits that have been given under the Cooperative Society Act makes it completely difficult for the office of DPP and the office of EACC to nab the people who have been taking advantage of our farmers. As we speak, Madam Speaker, I have a very serious issue in my constituency with one of the cooperative coffee society where farmers lost almost 19 million shillings last year. We have tried to mobilize farmers to go to the EACC to follow their money, but whenever we make entry into the issue, we are limited by the existence of that kind of conflicting statutes placement between the Cooperative Society Act of 1997 and the operations of the EACC. That notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I'm also very excited because you know in the past we have had a lot of cooperative society that have crumbled in this country. And they have crumbled with a lot of assets belonging to the people we refer as the bottom-up community. And we have had farmers die into their graves, still claiming to own property that have crumbled with a few individuals who currently are known as the management committees of cooperative society. How I wish, even after we are done with this statute law miscellaneous amendment bill, we can be able to backtrack, go back a few steps backward and get to know how we can help our farmers. Madam Speaker, as a woman leader representing Kidhunguri constituency and a woman leader who has actively activated on matters sexual violence, I am very excited with the proposal on sexual offenses 2006, number 3 of 2006. Madam Speaker, if there are areas where justice is never delivered, it matters to do with sexual violence in this country. I happen to have followed a case in my county, Kiambu, when I was representing Kiambu as the county woman MP, of a child who was molested in the police cells in Gatondo police station back in 2019. And the child was molested by a police officer who was manning the police station and took advantage of a minor who was in the cells. Madam Speaker, to date, that case has never been concluded. Do you know why? Because tracking of sexual violation evidence in this country has become a mountain. You can easily go to court, press charges against a defiler, but you are not able to produce evidence because we don't have clear systems of securing evidence, what we call the forensic evidence provisions. If you go to other countries, Madam Speaker, like the US, you will find that they have a very clear system on how to preserve evidence. The innerwears of a child who is sexually molested, the DNA from that kind of an innerwear is safely secured for 7 years. In this country, Madam Speaker, files are presented in the office of DPP, but there is no evidence because we have no systems of securing these kind of evidences. Madam Speaker, in my previous term as a member of parliament representing Kiambu County, I brought a bill proposing to have a clear act that is going to govern sexual offenses, sexual assault forensic evidence. But I never managed to complete the bill, how I hope in this parliament I'll manage. But that notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I'm very excited that within this whole, combination of statute laws, we have found it worth to align the Sexual Offences 2006 Act with the Constitution of Kenya so that we can allow the Office of the Investigators, the DPP, to prosecute the offenders, repeat offenders, and if possible, Madam Speaker, to even blacklist the repeat offenders. With those very many submissions, Madam Speaker, I am humbled to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Ndia, Honorable Jike.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the miscellaneous amendments bill. Honorable Speaker, I note that the bill touches on a number of articles concerning transport and infrastructure docket. I see, Honorable Speaker, there is the proposal to reduce the board members for KRB from 13 to 9 as per the Mongozo Code of Conduct. And Honorable Speaker, this is an amendment that my committee fully supports, because we want our institutions to be run in an effective manner, and reducing members will contribute to that. Honorable Speaker, I know that there is a proposal, there was a proposal to increase the term of the NTSA Director General, which my committee does not agree with. And Honorable Speaker, I see the bill seeks to drop that amendment and seeks to stay the term to 3 years. So Honorable Speaker, I fully support that because we want the term to remain at 3. Honorable Speaker, concerning the proposal to amend Section 16 of the Merchants Shipping Act number 4 of 2009, I see, Honorable Speaker, there is a justification because on matters local content, the ministry proposed to introduce a clause on local content requirement to be met by both foreign and national ship owners and maritime operators. And this, Honorable Speaker, will enable Kenyan citizens to benefit from massive opportunities available in the maritime industry. Honorable Speaker, you know the maritime industry in other countries like Netherlands is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we want Kenya to move to that level where the maritime sector would employ many Kenyans, provide jobs for our young people, and also spur the growth of our maritime sector. Honorable Speaker, another area that I see the miscellaneous amendments bill touches that concerns the transport sector is the proposal to amend Maritime Insurance Act, Cap 390, and Honorable Speaker, we fully support that proposal as a committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one will go to the member for Nairobi, Honorable Pasaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is really, really good for the Leader of Majority to bring all these miscellaneous amendments. But I feel that much as we say that in our laws we're going to have public participation, I feel that Parliament should take advantage of social media. We've got quite a number of Kenyans that are on social media, and my hope would have been that each and every one of those amendments were put onto the social media to also get feedback from the public on how they feel about various amendments, because we do make laws for Kenyans. So whereas public participation is put in the newspaper and people write memorandums, I feel that we are lacking when we come to the House and straight away put the bills on the floor of the House and for members to contribute towards them, but we are not actually involving the various Kenyans. And this could be a way for us to consider sensitizing the public when it comes to various amendments. There are very, very good amendments that have been brought on the floor with the various bills, and I feel that it's important that we generate activity and buzz in the public domain, because we've realized that when we were coming up with the finance bill, the public was really active and involved and understood what it is that Parliament does. And I feel that as representatives of the people, whenever we bring a number of bills together, we fail in that we are not involving the public in understanding what exactly we are doing with the various laws. I've seen the bill on the Kenya Roads Board where you're trying to reduce the number of board members to be in line with all the other bills. when it comes to the judiciary, increasing the Court of Appeal judges, I feel that it's important that we increase the number of judges, because we used to have a period where people said that you get justice denied by the fact that people would have court matters that would never be heard in their lifetime. So I believe that in trying to get the courts to be efficient, we should provide for judges. In the same light, we hope that soon we will come up with amendments that will also try and increase the number of police that we have in line with the number of with the population that they serve, because when you say that you have one policeman for 30,000 people, it's impossible to see us provide justice. When it comes to GBV, us as Nairobi County, we've put containers in every police station. And the reason we've done that, and we're also building the first safe house in the county, because the ugly face of COVID showed that gender-based violence was rife. But the thing is, we also need to make sure that while we provide such services, we also need to make sure that we also provide the personnel and the training and the necessary training. So while we make all these amendments, it has to be also backed with budgets, and budgets that are targeted to make sure that the amendments to the laws are actually implemented in a manner that will ensure that the laws that we have made will actually be able to serve the people. Because sometimes you have legislation and then you don't provide a budget. One that comes to my mind as I speak right now is the Psychology and Counselors Act. We passed that act in 2014. And it was only when mental health became a big issue that I once walked into the office of the PS of Health in the last parliament, and I said, look, we have this Psychologists and Counselors Act. Isn't it better for you to actually get this act implemented? They didn't even know that that act had been passed in 2014. So they finally created the body that would have the mandate to put counselors in place, whether in schools, whether in police institutions, whether in medical facilities. But again, if we have all these acts and we don't have the budgets, we're not going to be able to actually serve the people. And I feel that the Kenyan public is very, very vibrant when it comes to politics. And sometimes, you know, they look at us as parliamentarians and they wonder, what do we do? And we do a lot, from the committees that we serve to playing the oversight role, to the legislations, to the amendments. I feel that an area that we really need to focus on is how can we take public participation live to the Kenyans so that they can actually be able to participate online, because not everybody can come when it comes to public participation or even know what's going on. So all in all, I commend the majority leader and government for looking into the various gaps in all these laws that they've brought together. And I hope that we will back it with the necessary budgets to be able to implement it, the necessary training in the various ministries, so that as a whole we can make legislations that work and serve the people of Kenya. I stand to support and commend the leader of the majority for putting all these amendments in the various statutes. Thank you.
Thank you. The Deputy Majority Whip, member for Marsabit.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to these amendments on the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2022 that the majority leader brought, which is a good thing at the moment, and also tries to harmonize various acts with the functions of the Director of Public Prosecution under Act 157, which defines the role of the DPP. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I just want to say that I support this, and my attention is drawn to Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act 2003, number 3 of 2003. Madam Speaker, why I support this is because of the following. I've just picked on a few, because under anti-corruption, if we allow the Commission to seek for court order for the state officers under investigation, this will help us, because we know very well that as a country we have suffered in the past, and even now the country is so much affected by the corruption practice that has been there. I just want to quote what the late President Kibaki said, and using his own words, he said, "Let us not have people who will seek to swindle the government. Such people shouldn't be alive because the government uses public money. There is no need to have mercy on a fellow who is trying to swindle us. A person who is trying to misuse public funds must not be allowed to continue working in government. We will sack such fellows." And I respect these words because our country has gone to where we are today just because of the corruption that is in our country. And today, a poor man or a poor young man who is a graduate who qualifies for a certain position has no hope in our country just because of corruption, because people believe that beside your academic performance in school, you must corrupt the system and you must give money in order for you to be there. So justice has no space in our country as we have made it the order of the day. Madam Speaker, doing this will help us because a lot of cases that come forward, a lot of staff, civil servants who are being mentioned in this, once this happens, then we will be able to have good control, because corruption, unless we give it serious attention, will continue affecting us. And if a public servant or a civil servant is involved in corruption, allowing that person to remain in the office will definitely jeopardize the investigation. So it is better for this person to go and the investigation takes place. Again, under the Leadership and Integrity Act 2013, number 19 of 2012, to allow EEC to verify the suitability of any candidates. I support this also because we have people who have gone through some processes and who have been employed in different institutions and offices, but when you look at the records properly, or some years later, you realize that mistakes have been done. It is good to have proper procedures that can be followed, that can be referred to, that can put everything in place so that in case of anything, we have somebody who is accountable, who is responsible for any mistake that we have done. And even in the past, Madam Speaker, we know very well that some Kenyans have used their fake certificates to get into different offices. And by doing this, we'll be able to minimize the problem that many people have incurred, or the problem that many people have gone through after some years. Because I know even in some counties, many people have been involved in some of these things, and because they have not gone through proper investigation or through proper follow-up, they have been in offices where they don't even qualify, or where they, together with their bad records, they have always been transferred from one institution to the other. And so if we do that, then we will be able to also take care of that area. The third one, Madam Speaker, is Judicature Act, Cap 8, to increase the number of judges of the Court of Appeal from 30 to 70. Madam Speaker, in every county in our nation as a country, we know that cases have been there, and Kenyans complain because of the many months that this or any court has taken before the rulings. And increasing this will obviously help us to be more efficient and to serve Kenyans in a better way. And so I support this also. And as I move to now the next one, which is on the Kenya Roads Act 1999, number 7 of the 1999, that the number of board members to be reduced from the current 13 to 9 as per the Mongozo resolution. Madam Speaker, when you have a smaller number, you make even better decisions, and it is better even to handle a smaller team than the big number of people. It is good for us to recommend this so that even as we have the 9 members of the board, we look for the qualified people so that they can be in every other boards, and specifically in Kenya Road boards, so that we can have engineers, people who are experienced, or even have young people who are well educated, who qualify, so that they represent us in those boards. And as we consider that, again, I would want to say that the face of the country should also be reflected in every institution and every board that is there. Madam Speaker, with those few words, I support, and it is my prayer that this will soon be implemented.
Thank you, Honorable Janet, CTNA, member for Tarbo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I request to skip this one because I did not prepare for it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next chance then will go to member for Kirinyaga.
Honorable Speaker, I was just telling my colleague that it seems you're not reaching to my name. Honorable Speaker, thank you. I rise to support the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2022. Honorable Speaker, laws must be progressive. As a society, as we move on, we must make laws that are in tandem with the challenging times of today, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to speak on the Evidence Act, Cap 80, Honorable Speaker. And my good friend, KJ, has said that every edited photo leaves a digital imprint, Honorable Speaker. It is about time that we think about countering technology, AI advancements in terms of photographic evidence that forms a majority part of the evidence that is presented in court by advocates, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just telling the Honorable Naomi Wako that there is a photo of me circulating on social platforms where I have the head of a goat, Honorable Speaker. I do not know how that came to be, Honorable Speaker, but it is about time we have the changes in law to ensure that we have the right evidence in court so that we can enable the magistrates and the judges to make the right judgments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to also speak on the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a very welcome amendment, Honorable Speaker. The Commission has sort of become a toothless dog, Honorable Speaker. If you remember very recently, we saw it play out in the media between a CS and a PS, and a Commission that was caught in between and wondering what to do, at the mercy of both the state officers, Honorable Speaker. It is about time that we amend the law to ensure that the Commission can get barring orders, Honorable Speaker, for any state officer who is indicted or who is perhaps a person of interest in an investigation, Honorable Speaker. Why am I saying this, Honorable Speaker? There are glaring issues of interference, Honorable Speaker, when someone who is being investigated is in office, Honorable Speaker. They can interfere with the evidence, Honorable Speaker. There's also a conflict of interest, Honorable Speaker, because they are not able to provide the Commission with a clear and outlined manner of evidence, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also support the increasing of the Court of Appeal judges from 30 to 70, Honorable Speaker. As a law practitioner in this nation, Honorable Speaker, I can say there's such a huge disparity in terms of ensuring that we provide justice to Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, a mayor case takes around 7 years in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And it is unfortunate because most of the time you find the people who cannot afford lawyers are the ones who undergo or who are at the mercy of the judiciary system, Honorable Speaker. They go to court, you're told, come, take another date. You don't have a lawyer who can say no. our timelines are like this. You told come again another time. So, Honorable Speaker, it is about time. I mean, even for the magistrates and judges, we should think in terms of ensuring that we have ensured and protected access to justice for all Kenyans from all walks of life, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support. Thank you.
Thank you. The next chance will go to the member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I'm always very cautious of miscellaneous amendments. One, because they are bound to mischief, and two, they are practically, if they are very many and very large, difficult for people to go through and understand what is happening. However, this one I will support with caution, knowing that the most important aspect of miscellaneous amendment is actually the committee of the whole House, when we actually make clear decisions. But this one, the most common thing about them is actually aligning a lot of laws with the role of the Director of Public Prosecution, which is actually merely a procedural thing. It is, it is also, Madam Speaker, providing for many agencies that they must give their annual reports within 6 months. I mean, those are really administrative matters that can be undertaken in miscellaneous amendments. But there are actually important issues, and many of our colleagues have indicated. Under the Judicature Act, although I'm not a lawyer, but we have been now educated, there is nothing better than actually increasing the number of judges. Delay in justice in this country is actually a major drawback. So that's something we can support. The penal code, particularly the terms used for certain people as imbeciles and so on, that's totally unacceptable, and I think that we should actually support and look at it when the time comes. The Criminal Procedure Code, as well as the Sexual Offences Act, really it is good we are looking at it, and probably at the committee of the whole House, we may actually look for more amendments, because on the one hand, there is this problem of a deficit of forensic evidence, basically because the people who are handling are not trained well enough or are not keen enough to know how to save the evidence and protect the evidence, and also even how to guide the people who are affected on what evidence is required at what time. So that's really something that has been really terrible in sexual offenses. But on the other hand, the Sexual Offences Act, particularly with reference to defilement and age of offenders, is something we need to look at. Particularly the boys around 19, 20, 21, when they are dealing with girls who are about 17, 18. They are more exposed, and they may be, in their actions, they may be thinking they're dealing with normal. There are cases even where marriages have actually been organized with families for only the boy to actually be taken to court and punished severely for defilement. So I think that's something we'll look at. Evidence Act, as we move with technology and allow digital photographs, we really must up our game in managing photographs, because the manipulation that can occur in those digital photographs is amazing. And if people may find themselves going to jail for things they didn't do, it's good that we are moving. We are with the digital period. We are in the AIP, but artificial intelligence time, but we must see how do we protect people from those who can can do digital manipulation and get people into problem. Bribery Act, I like it because the word Bribery Act, as a member said, seems to imply that you are promoting bribery. But what I really like about it is, for once in this country, we are going to accept that corruption is not seated in the public sector only. The contribution of the private sector is immense in this. And if you are going to look at that, that is something I'll support. Holidays, let's not change history. Let's history stay as it is. I don't see why we are changing a Moi Day. Whatever happened, I think we should retain that. Changing 26th December to Utamaduni, we are not respecting our cultures. We are looking for a day that is celebrated all over the world for other things and say we can give this one. So something we can look at. Copyright Act, our artists are losing a lot from their skills and their talents. So I think that's something that we need to look at. Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, I think I agree. There are people who should be actually barred when they are being investigated from their offices. You can't be investigating somebody while they're still holding the objects that you need to look at. Merchant and Shipping Act, well, what we had was declared unconstitutional, so the shipping sector has been now operating without that, and therefore it has been hard to revive the Kenya National Shipping Line. So I think if that will do it, it's okay. Prevention of organized crime, we must enhance the punishment. I've sometimes even thought that actually we should put capital punishment for organized crime, particularly organized economic crimes, because these people kill others through their activities, and therefore enhancing the punishments, okay, and giving more time to pursue the proceeds, particularly property, is something that I think we can support. Leadership and Integrity Act, sure, let EACC verify suitability. By the time these people come to us, there is so much politics that has gone into the process that actually we don't do as much as needed. Finally, Madam Speaker, the Scrap Metal Act, I think that's something we need to look at. It's not just copper and aluminum and their alloys, but even just steel. We need to protect our infrastructure, not just electrical and electronic infrastructure, but even just physical infrastructure. With that, Madam Speaker, I said I'll support with reservations until we come to the committee of the whole House, when we look at each one individually. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The next chance will go to the member for Mbeere North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support especially the bill on the statutory instruments. I sit on the Committee on Delegate and Registration, Madam Speaker, and we have seen where many state corporation or government agencies have delegated powers to come up with laws or with regulations which is not forwarded to the committee and also to this House. And this has happened to quite a number of
Honorable member for Mbeere North, I think you're contributing to the next business. We are on the miscellaneous. Kindly be guided. If not going to speak to this one, we'll give to the next one.
Madam Speaker, I have seen on the moving notes by the leader majority that the statutory instrument is mentioned there in the moving notes of the majority leader when he was moving this omnibus bill. I stand to be guided. Let me have this note.
Member for Funyula.
Point of order, Honourable Speaker. I would request my colleague to look at memorandum of objects and reason for the bill in question here. It lists all the principal acts that are being amended. The moving notes for majority leader is not the bill. The bill is here. It's not a property of the House. would you kind enough, Honorable Speaker, to allow me to give him a copy of the bill so that he can apprise himself?
Yes,
I'm
please.
seeking your authority, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Madam Speaker, because I have the statutory instrument amendment bill, so I thought this is what we are.
No, we are not yet there.
Honorable member,
so if it's not the one, Madam Speaker,
let me guide you.
Let me
guide you.
Yes.
Yeah, so that even when you're making a few comments, you'll make to the right bill. The bill that is on the floor is the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill 2022, which does not contain the Statutory Instruments Act as one of the bills that are as one of the acts that are being amended. So kindly restrict yourself to the current bill on the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that guidance. I stand guided. Madam Speaker, I want to comment or to support the amendments on two acts, that is the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003. Madam Speaker, you know we have to make corruption very painful in the Republic of Kenya. We have seen the rate at which the corrupt activities have read down the people of Kenya. And more so, Madam Speaker, when it comes to economic crimes have never been taken in the most serious manner as it is supposed to be. We have seen a prosecution of corruption cases which are not, we cannot justify any corruption case, but Madam Speaker, economic crimes have never been prosecuted in a manner which will make corruption painful. We have seen the agony of coffee farmers. We have seen the agony of tea farmers, of dairy farmers. Many people in senior government offices sitting down and constructing policies which distort the market prices of these crops or crop produce. When we are talking about tea, when you're talking about coffee, dairy farming, even farming of eggs, Madam Speaker. And those who sit in these big offices, they have never been prosecuted in any court of law by coming up with policies which distort the market prices, coming up with the policies which enable that the cartel thrive in this market. Madam Speaker, we have to amend the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crime Act to ensure all corrupt activities, all economic crimes are prosecuted and are made very painful for anybody who involve himself in such kind of activities, Madam Speaker. And I support these amendment in the most strongest terms possible. Madam Speaker, also on issues to do with Kenya Roads Board Act, you know, we need to make our organization efficient, effective in carrying out the duties and the mandate of those organizations, and we need to ensure our parastatals are in tandem with Mwongozo. Mwongozo recommends 9 board members and not 13. And it's surprising that Kenya Roads Board is still up to today as 13 members, which is against the policy document known as Mwongozo. So this amendment is in tandem with ensuring the governance of our organizations are done in the most appropriate way so that Kenyans can be able to enjoy the their taxes without wastage, and to have a rein board which can be able to make appropriate decision. Madam Speaker, at the same time, on the Evidence Act and Criminal Procedure Code, also I support these amendments so that issues of justice administrative system in the Republic of Kenya, and more so in judiciary, can be done in the most appropriate way. Madam Speaker, we want also to introduce, because this House has powers to create more courts, we should also see in the future where we have traditional courts as a method of ensuring we have justice in our society. And also, we need also to establish jury courts, because we can have different types of courts and let the members of the public choose which court they want to go to. Because some of our courts, Madam Speaker, we have to say, we still have a long way to cover in terms of justice administration system. We have a long way to cover. We know what is trending in the streets out there, which I don't want to mention in this house, but we have a long way to cover as far as judicial administration system of this country is concerned, and therefore we want to see in future having different types of courts and let the members of public choose which court they want to go to. And I'm telling you, most of them, Madam Speaker, you'll find they're choosing to go to traditional courts because they are most effective in terms of unearthing the truth of whether you committed the crime or not. Alternative dispute resolutions need to be embedded within our society, Madam Speaker. With those remarks, I support those amendments. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
What can be possibly out of order? Honourable Member for Madeira.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I feel that this matter has been extensively discussed, and therefore I'm requesting you to call the mover to reply, Madam Speaker.
Other members, a member has risen in his place in accordance to our standing orders, so I therefore put the question that the mover be called to reply. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. Mover.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and let me take this opportunity to thank all the members who have ably contributed to this very important bill that touches on quite a number of statutes. And Honourable Speaker, to particularly thank those who have spoken in support of the amendments that touch on the EACC, to make sure that EACC now becomes a commission that indeed has teeth to bite the corrupt, because they will not be biting those who are not corrupt, Honourable Speaker. And nobody who is not corrupt or has no plans of engaging in corruption should be worried of the provisions that are contained herein, including those on the Anti-Bribery Act. And of course, Honourable Speaker, I know there are concerns that we have increased we are proposing to increase the number of judicial officers serving in the Court of Appeal. And there have been questions, what about those in the Supreme Court? Honourable Speaker, that being a constitutional matter is one of the issues that probably Kenyans should continue to engage in and be able to know whether it is possible to increase the number of judges in the Supreme Court. But it's indeed important, Honourable Speaker, that the Court of Appeal has enough judicial officers to be able to handle the many appeals that come from the very many high courts that have since been established. Because when this country had just a number of high courts in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Nyeri, which were largely along the old provincial headquarters, then the Court of Appeal sitting only in Nairobi had adequate number of judges. But therein also came the problem of cases taking too long in court. And you know the incidences where even prisoners who have filed for appeal cases in the Court of Appeal had to serve their entire time in prison. And some, unfortunately, for crimes they never committed and probably would have gotten respite in the Court of Appeal. But because of the absence of enough adequate judicial officers, they were not able to enjoy their freedoms. Therefore, the increment of these Court of Appeal judges from 30 to 70 will help in the dispensation of justice. Honourable Speaker, also to point out that it's only that we're increasing the number allowed by law, but that does not necessarily mean that tomorrow the judiciary will hire another 40 judges up front. It means, Honourable Speaker, that the law now will allow them that space and they will be able to hire based on need and based on the number of cases that are there before them, Honorable Speaker, and also give judicial officers hope that indeed they can climb up the ladder in their service as judicial officers, because, Honorable Speaker, when you see that you have a limited number of judges, then those serving in the High Court know the spaces available, unless judges retire, are very limited. But now judicial officers will be able to know, even those who are serving as magistrates, that so long as you serve in integrity, you have the space and the time to rise up the ladder. Finally, Honorable Speaker, because I was watching the engagement between the member from Mbeere North and the member for Funyula, to confirm that indeed I want to agree with the member for Funyula, that my talking notes only speak to certain aspects of the bill as I find relevant to speak to, but that does not mean other members must not get hold of the bill. When these bills are read for the first reading in the House, they are available in the table office. It's just to encourage our new members to get copies of the bill and go through them. And the Parliamentary Service Commission has also facilitated us very well to have personal assistants, and I hope the member from Mbeere has employed a personal assistant who can be able to read and be able to translate what is provided for in bills. I'm not just talking about the member from Mbeere. Is basically members of
Member
Parliament.
from Mbeere North, what is out of order?
Madam Speaker, is majority leader. Is majority leader in order to keep on reminding the new members who are highly qualified, who have gone to different universities in the world, who have worked in different countries in this world, Madam Speaker, that they need to have personal assistance. Madam Speaker, the member from Mbeere North, Roko GK, is very well versed with the bill which is on the table of this House.
Honorable member.
Is the
Order.
member for Kikuyu.
Order, Honorable member from Mbeere North. I have no doubt, because I knew you went to the university just after I went to the university.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
There is only one university with the article there, but that notwithstanding, I think Honorable Ishongwa was responding to what Honorable member from Mbeere North admitted, that he was using the leader of majority's notes and not your personal notes. So continue, Honorable Ishongwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for that response to the member from Mbeere. And he knows I have tremendous respect for him, because he has cut out his image as a very diligent member of Parliament. Indeed, the member from Mbeere is one amongst the best performing members of Parliament in terms of contributions to debate, but I was just encouraging him that next time not to depend wholly on my notes, because I read the bill, I indicate what I want to speak to. That does not necessarily mean that it covers, and the time also doesn't allow you, when you are moving a bill, to be able to cover the entire length and breadth of all the provisions in a particular bill. Therefore, that was just on a light note, and I agree with you, Honorable Speaker. Only one university has the Article 3 University of Nairobi, not any other university, especially those named after what I do not want to say, Honorable Speaker. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, allow me to reply and thank all the members who have taken time. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, if you notice from the clerk's desk, this is one of the bills that a lot of members have been able to contribute to, and it speaks to the need for the particular amendments that are contained in that bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Majority. We will defer the putting of the question as guided by our standing orders to the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 16, motion. Probable loss of investments in Cyton High Yields Solutions Platform.
Chair Petitions, Public Petitions Committee, Honorable Nimrod Mbai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of a public petition number 07 of 2022 regarding probable loss of investments in certain high yields solutions platform laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 4th May 2023. Honorable Speaker, on the 16th November 2022, the member of Alego Osonga constituency, the Honorable Samuel Watanti, represented in this House as a public petition number 7 of 2022 regarding probable loss of investments in the Cyton High Yields Solutions platform on behalf of Mrs. Abasanda Josephine Awor, Mrs. Caroline Otieno, and Mr. Omondi Ombonyo, who are investors in the Cyton Company Limited. The petitioner prayed that the National Assembly, through the public petition, 1, summons the Capital Markets Authority, CMA, to establish how they intended to operationalize the Investor Compensation Fund to grant compensation to investors who suffer pecuniary loss resulting from failure of licensed stockbroker or dealer to meet the contractual obligations as stipulated in Section 18(1) of the Capital Markets Act. Number 2, engage the Cyton Investment Limited and its partners to clarify how they intended to fulfill their agreements with the investors, depositors, and the aforementioned Ridge investment projects. Number 3, holds the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Cyton, as responsible for the mismanagement and secures the timely refund of investors, depositors' money, and number 4, make any other suitable recommendation it deems fit in addressing the issues raised in the petition. Honorable Speaker, upon hearing from the petitioners and the witnesses, the committee makes determinations on the prayers sought in the petition as follows. A, summon the Capital Markets Authority, CMA, to establish how they intend to operationalize the Investor Compensation Fund to grant compensation to investors who suffer pecuniary loss resulting from failure of a licensed stockbroker or a dealer to meet his contractual obligations as stipulated in Section 18(1) of the Capital Markets Act. Upon consideration of this prayer, the committee resolved that CYHS was an unregulated product which promised of guaranteed returns by Cyton. Cyton has not converted CWHS to CYHS as advised by CMA, where the clients in the CHYS would convert into a CHYF and eventually benefit from the Investor Compensation Fund in case of any loss. Number 3, Section 18 of the Act and Regulation 64 of the Capital Market Licensing Regulations, General Regulations 2002, provides that investors in the capital market products and or services are entitled for compensation from the fund if they suffer loss resulting from the failure of a licensed stockbroker or dealer to meet his contractual obligations and paying beneficiaries from collected and claimed dividends when they resurface. The investor in CHWS are not liable for compensation from the fund as the product is unregulated. Further, Regulation 69 requires that investors shall apply for CMA for compensation from the compensation fund in cash or securities equal to the net loss following a loss due to the failure of stockbrokers. dealers or investors bank carrying out any stock broking business or dealing operations. To meet its contractual obligations, therefore, investors in CHYS are not entitled to benefits from the Investor Compensation Fund in case they suffer loss or of their investments. Honorable Speaker, engagements with Seton Investment Limited and its partners to clarify how they intended to fulfill their engagements with the investors, depositors of the aforementioned ridge development projects. Upon and consideration of this prayer, the committee resolved: 1. The product by Seton High Yield Solutions, CYHS, and CPN are unregulated and products under the Act. Seton Investment Management PLC has not converted CYHS to CYHF as advised by CMA, where the clients in the CHYS would convert into a regulated CHYF. During the pendency of the petition before the committee, liquidation orders against the certain entities, CHYS and CPN, under Seton were issued by the courts, whereupon official receiver was appointed. The order was made against, among other properties, the ridge, which is the heart of this petition. Therefore, the court process of liquidation be allowed to proceed to its logical conclusion. This will allow the realization of funds to compensate the investor. Therefore, the committee recommends that the official receiver speeds up the process of liquidation and report to the National Assembly within 6 months from the date of adoption. All the chief executive officers, CEO of Seton, are responsible for the mismanagement and secure the timely refund of investors and depositors' money. And lastly, the Capital Markets Authority fast tracks the alternative funds regulation for private markets so as to seal loopholes by rogue operators. The House amends the Capital Markets Authority Act to provide for an expanded market conducive environment for capital markets. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion and request the Honorable Janice Yenei, member for Turbo, to second the motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, member for Turbo. Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. I wish to second this motion on probable loss of investment in Seton High Yield Solutions platform. And Madam Speaker, having listened to the petitioners and other witnesses, having visited the various investments, it is into the conclusion, we concluded that the CEO, Seton, and the partners failed to apply sound corporate and governance techniques and strategies on the investment portfolios. Because when we look at one of the investments that we visited, that was the ridge, which the petitioners have interest in, you realize that the work was not ongoing. They had stopped works because of non-payment to the contractor. And we had even difficulties accessing the property. So, Madam Speaker, the said platform, in accordance to the CMA Act and regulation, Seton Investment Management had issued issues to the market, both regulated
and unregulated products. But they chose to use the unregulated product, despite the fact that the Titan Asset Managers Investment Limited had 6 registered companies, which they would have actually used to save the petitioners their money, their hard-earned money.
Honorable Member for Turbo, don't, just continue. Honorable Member for Turbo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. What I was saying is that the Titan Investment Company chose to use the vehicle called CHSY instead of using the registered vehicles which are already registered with CMA. Therefore, the product they had was unregulated. Madam Speaker, as a result of this, Madam Speaker, as a result of this, the investors who are the petitioners actually suffered pecuniary loss, but they are not able to be compensated because of the status of the CHYS. Madam Speaker, according to CMA, the Titan company or investment company was advised to procure a license to allow it to operate the service and the products that falls within the purview of the capital markets. But to this end, Titan did not procure the required licenses. Madam Speaker,
Honorable members,
Madam Speaker,
I don't know why you're opposing Honorable Janet. Continue.
Madam Speaker, CMA observed financial service institution offering unregulated cash management product that would pool funds from the public for a guaranteed return. Hence, CHYS was not within the mandate of the CMA. Therefore, the CHYS duped the public actually by allowing them to invest their money in that institution or in that investment company, contrary to the provisions of Capital Market Securities Public Offers Regulation 2020. Madam Speaker, the investors who are the petitioners actually lost their hard-earned money into this Titan institution, and therefore suffered pecuniary loss due to failure by the stockbroker licensed, who was licensed to meet contractual obligation and to pay the beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, according to Section 18 of the Capital Markets Act and Regulation 64 of the Capital Marketing Licensing Requirements, it provides that investors in capital markets are entitled for compensation from the fund if they suffer pecuniary loss resulting from the failure of a licensed stockbroker. And listening to this, you realize that the investors who actually brought in the petition actually suffered pecuniary loss through the CHYS and are therefore not liable for compensation from the fund as the product is unregulated. And Madam Speaker, Titan Investment Management continue to engage in extremely aggressive advertising and marketing using words, statements, phrases that is construed to be enticing and luring unsuspecting Kenyans into buying or taking up the products as advertised and marketed without sufficient notice and information, contrary to consumer protection laws. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we would wish to request as a committee, our recommendation is to request the CMA to fast-track alternative fund regulations for private markets so as to seal loopholes by rogue operators to protect unsuspecting citizens from losing their money or their hard-earned investments. Madam Speaker, we recommend that Madam Speaker, it is imperative that the CEO of Saiton Investment, Mr. Edwin Harold Diane Dande, be held personally liable for the loss of investors' money and mismanagement, hence secure timely refund of investors and or depositors' money. Madam Speaker, the DCI should undertake thorough investigation into the affairs and matters raised by the petitioners and prefer criminal prosecution against any person found culpable. Madam Speaker, the DCI should also investigate the relationship between the Madam Speaker, between Saiton and Capital Markets Authority between 2015 and 2021. And Madam Speaker, the DCI should also investigate the business dealings of the 49 SPVs, special purpose vehicle, including their assets and liabilities. And also, Madam Speaker, the DCI should investigate the dealings of the CEO, the assets and liabilities, so that, Madam Speaker, they can bring to book any person that is culpable to the losses of the investors into this institution. Madam Speaker, all said, we would wish to actually...
Honorable Janet, you have 30 seconds. Properly second the motion.
Madam Speaker, I wish to second this motion and also pass it the motion to be debated so that our citizens can be guarded from any other losses in future. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I second the motion.
Thank you, honorable members. I therefore propose that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of a public petition number 7 of 2022 regarding probable loss of investment in Saiton High Yield Solution Platform laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 4th May 2023. Honorable members, the debate on this motion will be on the next day because under our standing orders, the motion moved by Ken Chonga, which is an adjournment motion, is scheduled to start at 6 o'clock. So I will give the next chance to Honorable Ken Chonga. Move the motion.
I need to be guided, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, you rose on your place, and you garnered proper support for an adjournment motion, which was scheduled by the Speaker for 6 p.m. Exactly. I have now given you the chance to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, considering the rate at which the prices of fuel are changing and rising high nearly every day, a concern among the Kenyans has come as to what could be done, despite the fact that we are aware that the global prices of fuel are going up. There is need for the government to come up with concrete measures, given the fact that as a result of these high skyrocketing prices, there are too far much effects that go along with it. As you know, Madam Speaker, fuel is actually the driver of every economy.
in a situation where the prices of fuel are high, it compels the populace, therefore, to spend more on fuel than to have anything to keep as a saving. There are so many effects. You look at the cost of living, you look at the cost of transport, you look at the cost of production, you look at the growth in terms of the economy, all which relies on matters of fuel, find that these ones are unable to achieve. It is indeed for that matter, therefore, I felt that this is a matter of urgent national importance for this House to stand and debate on. I therefore, Madam Speaker, wish to move this motion and give an opportunity for the members.
Honorable members, as you're aware, under Standing Order 33, this motion only has 5 minutes for every member, regardless of the ranking or position. Only the mover who would take 10 minutes. What is out of order, Honorable Member for Gatundu North?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm rising under the provisions of Standing Order number 35, bringing to your attention that the House doesn't have quorum, and we should work with our own rules, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
From the look of the House, I order that the bell be rung for 10 minutes. Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms, 10 minutes are over. Kindly stop the quorum bell. Order, members. Kindly be on your feet. Honorable members, and the time being 6:21 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, tomorrow, 4th of October, 2023, at 9:30 a.m.
Senator Malsayo is now fully crowned as a Turkana elder according to the Turkana culture. He could be an exception. Yes.
Next is Senator Boni Kalwale, the majority whip of the Senate.